Greetings, everybody in YouTube land. Welcome to our Ghostbusters Afterlife Roundtable. Each and every individual on this show has now seen the film. We are going to talk about it. We're going to go no spoilers for the first bit, and then we're going to get into spoilers after a little bit. But before we do that, let me introduce our illustrious panel. We have with us a special guest tonight, the one, the only Yellowflash. How you doing?
Good to be here.
Glad to have you, sir. And we also have our normal panel of Midnight Edge crew and Midnight Edge After Dark crew. Let's start with Culture Casino down there in the corner. How you doing, my friend?
Fantastic. But I'm stoked. I can't wait to talk about this film. I'm going to be doing it all night, so I'm pretty stoked. Let's do it.
I hope we're talking about for the next couple of weeks. It's a nice thing to talk about.
Me too.
Jesse of Jesse Miller at the Crow's Nest is also here. How you doing?
I'm pretty damn good. I just enjoyed a night out at the theater with my son, just like we used to all the time.
Awesome. And also with us in full regalia is Mr. Script Doctor. How you doing?
I'm doing well. I was very happy to be able to see this film.
You look pretty fit in that suit, too.
You do. You look nice.
Oh, yeah.
Yoked Busters.
It kind of just fits you naturally, like all of Egon Spangler's jumpsuits fit those children.
I know, right?
They had a tailor. They wrote the names and patches.
Yeah, they tied it up here and there. Yeah,
They cleaned it up. That's fine.
yeah. And then we also have Paulie. How you doing, Paulie?
Hey, ¿qué onda?
He's driving right now, so you'll have to excuse him.
Yeah.
He's been the most patient, hasn't he? Because he's been waiting like a whole day to talk about this.
Paul,
Yeah,
yeah.
he saw it last night.
Yeah, he got to see it last night with Chris Gore, and there's a video on Paulie's channel. Everybody go check it out where he's there with Chris, and it's awesome. Yeah, I mean, God bless him. He saw it 24 hours ago.
Yeah, and they were getting run off the street if I remember right on that stream. So yeah, it was pretty good though. Pretty good.
Yeah. And last but not least, the producer extraordinaire, Mexican Iron Man. How you doing, Mike?
Very well, although I'm a bit jealous that that Midnight Edge allocated financial resources for Script to get an outfit, and I didn't get one, but that's okay.
Oh, no, I had this in my closet.
Seniority.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's right, like Yellowflash said.
Wait, what?
no. When you said Script Doctor had his outfit and it just magically fit.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. He must have got it from Egon's magic closet.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go.
We got a couple super chats right away. Stephanie Janisek says, I bawled my eyes out for 2 hours. It was perfect. Well, I'm glad you liked it, Stephanie. Eric Wimberg says, look at this star panel at Script Fancy. There you go. So he's liking the outfit. And we actually had one that was dropped way before the show began by Plan Our Aspect. Says, starts really late. So I can be here after seeing it. So he's going to watch it afterwards. So now that you're watching this on the replay planner aspects, thank you for the super chat. And with that, I don't think we want to waste any more time.
No.
Let's get into this business. Well, let's start with you, Flash. Your first overall impressions, your expectations going in. No spoilers, but just kind of an overall take of the film.
Well, I'm still trying to figure out if I think it's a 6 or a 7 out of 10. Like, I'm kind of in between right now. I really think I need to see it again to really get that down. But, I went into this movie really hyped. I've been defending it from, just everyone's putting out videos on it, trashing it. And it's like, I don't know if it's going to be that bad. It looks really good. And it did try to please the fans. And I think its heart was in the right place. But the whole time I'm sitting there, I'm thinking, this is kind of just okay, And I think maybe I went in there expecting greatness. Might have been similar to the problem. But there's some stuff in there I just couldn't get over. And we'll talk about it when spoilers come up. But I think it's just an okay movie. There's a lot of stuff that I liked and that I didn't like. Particularly with like Paul Rudd, I think was underutilized. And I think taking him out of the movie at a certain point was a big mistake.
I knew that was going to happen, but then again, so like
you did call that.
And I had no insight to this at all. Like this movie pretty much was exactly the movie I wrote out loud 2 years ago.
Easy with the spoilers. We're getting close. I
was gonna say I'm not gonna spoil anything right now, but yeah, there's it's pretty close. Culture, you had a little bit different take.
I did. I mean, my overall impression from beginning to end, and I did a 5.5 minute video that's gonna, release in, I don't know, 2 minutes on my channel. So if you want to go see that, my spoiler-free impressions are there. I thought it was a B+. It's one of those. It's one of those films. I think it was well said in the chat. It's a slow burn. It might have had some pacing issues, like early on, but for the most part, and I agree with Flash. Paul Rudd could have been used a little bit more. I think it was a pretty cool adventure. Is it a perfect film? No, but it's far better than a lot of the stuff that you've been seeing lately. So I really did.
It's way better than 2016.
Oh yeah, that's not even a comparison.
I also think it's
wasn't
better
even
than
a movie.
Ghostbusters 2.
Well,
It was
Which
an
I guess
abortion that
that's
somebody recorded.
Yeah.
I would say that's a good comparison, Yellowflash. I'd say that would be the comparison there would be between 2 and this film. And I think you're right. I think this is a better I think this is a better version of that. I really do.
I feel like Ghostbusters 2 is written out like there weren't really any indications that movie had happened.
There was a few little
The only
Easter eggs
thing
here and
was,
there,
the
but
candy
nothing
bar.
really
No, they
major.
talked
it's
about
not
how for like almost 30 years there hadn't been a ghost sighting, so that would line up with 1989, 1991.
Yeah, and when Dan Aykroyd's talking about a few things, not to get into any spoilers, he does kind of address what had happened since then. So,
Now,
I mean, it is kind of.
I thought the
hinted
Crunch
at
Bar
least.
was from the second movie.
Well, it had to be. From
Raise a
last
Cult
one.
was in the second movie. That's where that
Yep.
Yeah,
came
yeah,
from.
exactly.
That's where he was
that
operating out of.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, that was kind of it, though. Like I was okay. Well, I don't want to spoil it.
We're
When we
still
get to
doing
spoilers,
overall reactions. Jesse.
Once we get into spoilers, there's definitely things like I agree with you to a point. There's definitely places they could have and they should have, but yeah, we'll wait for spoilers.
like I was expecting to see Oscar somewhere, if you know what I'm saying, and he didn't pop in.
Yeah, there's a few people I had hoped and expected to show up that didn't, but we'll get into
Where'd
that.
Paulie go? Did we lose him?
He was driving.
Coming
so
out
I'm
of Flash,
assuming-
I think that's a really dark joke.
Yeah, it was a little bit. But I think he'll pop back in, hopefully. Craig Tucker says, here's some money. I'm bored. Well, hopefully you're not going to be too bored after listening to us, and hopefully you saw the movie.
Oh, hell, make him really bored. Then he'll give you more money.
Because we are planning on getting into spoilers here soon. So where did we leave off now that everything's shifted here? Jesse was last, so then we're on script now, I think, right?
Yeah, I thought it was a solid film. Yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat as Yellowflash. It was good and enjoyable and better than Ghostbusters 2. But it definitely has the heart in the right place and pulls on the heartstrings quite effectively. But yeah, I mean, it's by no means a perfect film, but I would say it's a decent and positive entry into the Ghostbuster franchise. That's for sure. It's worth seeing. Absolutely.
Mikey.
Yeah, I think you should definitely see the movie for sure. I'm going to be harsh on the movie, but it's not. I didn't think it was a terrible movie. I hate when I give something a 6 or a 7. People say, "Oh, it's awful." Like I feel like
right.
It's because so many people overdo
son
the
pointed out what's the problem. He says the problem is that you're film critics.
Possibly.
That's kind of true. Thomas Plummer says it was not great, but honestly, it had a very rough third act. That being said, I realized I was smiling and had been for halfway through, so I have to call it good. That's kind of where I'm at, but I'll give you my impression here in a minute. Mikey, what was your impression?
I absolutely loved it. I
would say you cried like a little girl.
I went in. Yeah, I mean, yeah. Jump in because we were talking about it before the show. I am not the biggest Ghostbusters fan. When you've been talking about it on a variety of shows, I can't say that when I went back, I couldn't stand that song, the Ghostbusters. I couldn't stand it then. I've never couldn't stand it ever since.
What?
I was very early in age. Very early in my age, it would annoy the snot out of me. I love the first movie.
How do you love Ghostbusters and hate the theme song?
Well, I do.
It's an iconic song.
I can't freaking stand the Ghostbusters. Oh, it annoys this guy. Just give me some fingernails on a chalkboard.
Because Ray Parker Jr. is black.
I will. Yeah.
Doesn't busting make you feel good, Mike?
Because what?
That's the lyric in the song.
Oh no, I can't stand that song. I just can't stand it. I love the first movie. I like the second movie. I know a lot of people hate the second movie, but I enjoyed the second movie, and hadn't seen any of it since. And so I went into this thing thinking, okay, well, I bought the tickets a long time ago, which I did. I bought them like a month ago, and I already had a date planned, and so I didn't want to cancel on her and stuff. And I'm like, I worked my ass off to be able to get to this thing today and take the half day off work to go. because I saw the early afternoon thing, and I walked in expecting mediocrity. I walked in that way, and I walked out absolutely fired up and excited for three reasons. And I'm not going to go into spoilers, but number one is that, hey, I got a movie where there were actually 3 heterosexual couples, more or less, one way or the other, kind of, sort of. 2 is that it wasn't woke at all. And 3, it moved me. It even moved me to tears, which I didn't even expect it would. And here's the thing. I went into this movie not with my usual, like, kind of, oh, I'm a fan of movies kind of hat. I walked in like I was just like, hey, a normie guy. And you know what? This is the best time I've had at any movie, period. And I've been going to movies, as everybody knows on this panel, for Midnight Edge After Dark. I've been going to at least one, on average, one movie a week since the theaters reopened in my area at the beginning of the summer. And this is by far and above my favorite movie that I've seen. Now, well, let me preface that. I love Dune, but that's a very different kind of movie. But I still like this movie even more than I enjoyed Dune, and I love that experience. I cannot believe how much I liked it. And, you know, I should have known. I had an indication that I was going to like it because Paulie and I, we disagree on a few movies, but generally, I saw the beginning of his little video from last night because he saw it with Chris Gore, I think, or he saw it with Chris Gore last night, and I saw his reaction. Like, okay, there's a little sparkle in his eye, and I was like, well, okay, maybe. I absolutely loved it. And basically, the message I wanted to tell everybody before we start slicing and dicing this thing, which I know this panel will, my message to the chat watching is, go buy tickets and go see this movie right now. Take your kids. I already called my son right after I got out of the thing because I'm going to see him next week. And I said, hey, do you want to see Ghostbusters? He said, yeah, let's do it, Dad. I'm taking my kid. I'm going to see this movie 2 times in 1 week. So there you go.
Yeah, I'm thinking about that myself too. Because first off, if anybody hasn't seen this movie yet and you're still planning on it, I did hear that if you go to AMC, you might be able to get your hands on a complimentary Ecto 1 popcorn holder. Do you have it, you son of a bitch?
Freaking Tom got one, and they didn't have one at my theater.
Yourself?
Hold on.
Because I totally didn't get one of those.
Hold on.
Oh, it lights up.
Oh, what?
It wasn't free though. It was $40.
It was $40.
Yeah, but it lights up. You got one. Yeah. Why don't I have one?
Maybe your theater was sold out.
No, I was
out
of them tonight already. They didn't have any.
They sold out tonight already. Yeah,
but you have to ask for it, right?
Well, what you get is
$40.
Well, what you're actually paying for is the endless or like a year's worth of popcorn refills or whatever. It's there.
That thing only, so you got to bring that back to the theater.
Yeah, I don't know how that works exactly. Yeah, because I'm like I wouldn't put popcorn in it.
I feel kind of weird.
No, I mean, you know what, Tom? You know what? I need to. You should send that to me so I can fill out a form for the tax deduction. Just mail it to me, and I'll make sure.
I think it's something through like your AMC Stubs app thing. You can just use, because my buddy was like, you can use my free popcorn if you want. I'm like, well, I plan on getting one myself. He's like, oh, I got a free popcorn yet. Because my buddy went and bought a shit ton of them.
But beyond that, like tonally, I thought this movie was good. I mean, it felt right. It felt like it was in the right universe. The casting, I thought, was very well done. Everybody played their roles very well, I thought. No one stood out to me or broke my suspended disbelief, really, except for like a couple of things I'll mention later. But yeah, overall, honestly, as somebody who's been waiting for this movie for like a long time now, I just wish it was longer. So, sequel.
Yeah. That's kind of like my main complaint. Like, I loved this movie. I loved it more than I thought I was.
They crammed a lot in there for the time length.
Yeah.
I think if they had gone a little bit longer, that would have helped it.
Well, there's
the
even
plans,
stuff
like
that
all
are
the plans and the things they did. They weren't asinine. They were like, you know.
Well, there's a lot of clips and stuff that's in the trailers that wasn't in the movie. And Jason had been whittling this movie down for like the last year. He'd been playing with it, so
you can kind of tell, actually.
Yeah, it's actually I somebody was complaining about the pacing. I thought the pacing was fine. If anything, it feels like it needed an extra 20 minutes to breathe. Like I got to the end of the movie, I'm like, holy shit, we're already in the climax. I'm like,
yeah, exactly. That's exactly how I felt.
Because that last third act, if it's anything, it's too fast. Like it just everything happened.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you there. Because
it's like you mix your ingredients and they have to cook so that the flavor comes out.
Well, the first 10 minutes are actually kind of rough too. So
as soon as they take out Paul Rudd, like I knew the ending was coming, and I was like, really? Like that's it? That's it for the setup.
I knew what they were going to do with him.
Yeah, they could have just padded out like 20 more minutes with them discovering more cool backstory lore.
Yeah, I really liked it when they were talking about Zool and kind of fleshing Zool out a little bit more.
Exactly. Now, was that the same actress?
No, I don't think so. There's some CGI face going on there.
We'll get into that here in a bit because, that's some of my points of contention. But overall, my impression was because, for those who know me, Ghostbusters is one of my main jams. As I've said before, my childhood went from Star Wars, Superman, He-Man, and then I graduated to Ghostbusters, and then everything was Ghostbusters until Ninja Turtles.
Exactly.
And then right in the midst of Ninja Turtles, I got Ghostbusters 2, which was it was the perfect age for it. I was 9 years old.
Yeah, I loved it as a kid.
Yeah, I still hold a special place, but I totally understand where people are coming from on it. And Andre and I had this discussion earlier about the film, and we were talking about, that's where shit went wrong in certain ways, and we got through that whole thing. But I'm not going to dwell on that right now. As far as this movie goes, that's my main complaint. Most of all, I guess, would be that I just didn't get enough. Now, is it a perfect 10 out of 10? Oh, absolutely not. But it is right up there with the second and first film. Definitely up there, maybe even better than the second
film. I don't think it's anywhere near the first film.
The first film had
probably a perfect movie. I don't think it's
the first film is probably perfect.
That's really kind of putting it up there too high, man. The first film is a masterpiece.
I don't know. I'll tell you what. I have not loved a movie this much in theaters, and I can't remember, probably since. It's even better than any of the Marvel movies I've seen in the last 10
definitely.
years.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what I'm saying. I have not had this enjoyable of a time in the theater, and I don't know how fucking long. And maybe I am amping it up a little bit, but god damn it, I want to go back and see it again. It ended too soon. I wanted more. It was everything I wanted out of the movie. It was, even though it was everything I predicted it was going to be, to me, it was a perfect meal, even though it was when you're done, you're still like, God, I just wish there was that extra bite more too. So that's not a bad thing though. As script will tell you, you always want to leave the audience wanting more.
That is true. Yeah.
So it as far as I was concerned, it was firing on all cylinders. The new cast is brilliant. There's a few things I had some issues with that we'll get into when it gets to spoilers. But outside of that, overall, I don't know if anybody could have made a better Ghostbusters 3 than this with what they had.
Yeah, I think it's okay to point out that a lot of the humor in the first movie, it's very deadpan and delivered very straight.
Well, it's
the chemistry of the three.
And
of
that's
them.
where
in this movie, a lot of the humor comes straight from Phoebe, who is super deadpan, and everybody else.
She was great.
She
was great in this movie.
She did a great job. Yeah, she was excellent.
Yeah, Mackenzie, what's her name? I can't. McKenna.
Yeah, she actually seemed like she was really
McKenna Grace.
McKenna Grace, that's what it is. Yeah,
yeah, she's been actually ridiculously busy for the last almost 10 years.
It wasn't
How
just.
old is she? She looks
She's
like
15, 16.
Damn, she's gonna be fucking.
Well, she was only 12 or 13 when she shot this. You got to remember, Jesse, they shot this 2 years ago.
It wasn't just the three. I mean, you also had Rick Moranis, who I think was definitely the high point. That he was my favorite part of the original Ghostbusters movie.
Oh, he's the standout for sure.
Yeah.
And again, we're gonna get into spoiler territory here, folks. Let's grab these super chats before we do, just in case anybody who did super chat us wants to leave before we get into spoilers. Okay, I think we got this one already. We did. Okay, so deleted scene says, "Hail Tom, Jesse, Paulie, Mike, script, culture, Yellowflash, wrenches, and chat. This is the Ghostbusters movie we deserve. Respectful to fans, the original film. Even I shed a tear by the end."
Yeah, I think I had a couple moments where I got a little. My eyes sweat just a little bit.
A little bit.
Don't let Nick Rekieta know.
Oh, that's all right. Just tell him your eyes were sweating.
Yeah, my eyes are sweating. It's okay.
Craig Tucker says, "Not bored anymore. Good job." Well, thank you, Craig. We're appreciating that. Infinity Flare says, "I'd say that Ghostbusters 2 was a better film. This was good to okay, enjoyable, but I think I would what."
I don't think I would watch again.
I think that's what he's trying to say. Yeah. And that's understandable, but I mean, I'll
watch again. I'm for sure going to invest in the 4K Blu-ray.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I'm probably going to see it again in the theater too.
Yeah, I think I'm going to try and see it again.
I'm also looking forward to an exclusive box set of all three of these Ghostbuster films, minus the one that they tried to call Ghostbusters.
They'll cram it in there for free.
Does anybody have that out of print 4K Blu-ray Ghostbusters?
Yes.
1 and 2. Is the transfer better for Ghostbusters 1 and that? I feel like the 4K Ghostbusters is kind of shit.
Well, here's the thing you have as a problem with that movie, and the version I have, I don't know because I never had the other 4K, because I know they've done a couple different 4Ks now. I'm not sure if they were all sourced from the same one. The one I have is clearly from the negative, but the film of that era, there was this stock, I think, of Kodak film or something like that, that was just horrid. Gremlins used it, Beverly Hills Cop used it, Ghostbusters used it, a lot of movies of that era used it, and
the 4K Beverly Hills Cop is too clear.
I don't know about too clear, but it looks better than it ever has before.
Kind of like made it look like an amateur movie. It's so clear. There's no grain.
That's because you got that fucking smooth motion shit on, Flash. Turn it off.
Yeah, if it looks like
there's tons of grain. There's tons of grain on the 4K Ghostbusters.
Oh, there's tons of grain on Beverly Hills Cop. You've just got that smooth motion on. But yeah,
but I had it on when I watched it 2 days ago, and it was
okay.
fine.
Ghostbusters is darker film. That's why.
Okay.
That there's a lot more grain in that because a lot of Beverly Hills Cop, once he gets to Beverly Hills, most of it's shot during the day. So you don't notice a lot of the grain, especially if you have the smooth motion on. But Ghostbusters, since 90% of the film is shot in the dark, like, yeah, it shows badly. It shows the age of the film badly. But it does. The one I have is the best it's ever going to look. 2 looks leaps and bounds better than all the films. But then again, that was shot like a comedy. That wasn't shot like a horror film.
Yeah, 2's 4K is fine.
But that was all shot brightly, and you had Bo Welch doing the production design, who's the guy who did all the Tim Burton stuff, and that's why it was all cartoony and bright, as opposed to the first film, which was shot like a horror movie.
Yeah, the first film, that's
it was lit like a horror movie too.
That's what I mean. Yeah, like it was all like they didn't shoot.
This one feels more like a horror movie too.
This is more in line with the first film, definitely.
Yeah.
Well, the genre of Ghostbusters is basically a comedic take on a supernatural thriller. That's basically
well, the humor comes out of the fact that this shit is really happening, right? And that's
well,
where
not only that, like the movie's so quotable with jokes. I mean, it's hard not. I mean, there's a reason why it's deliberately classified by the filmmakers as a comedy.
And there is some quotable lines in this one, so we'll get into that as well. Bird Up says they could have just put Bill Murray in front of the camera and have him stare silently at it, and it still would have been more entertaining than Ghostbusters 2016. That's the thing, is you can't even compare this to 2016. Like, there's no...
No, this one is a movie.
Yeah, that's not even a real movie, you're right. That is very true. Super Blubberpuss says Parker stole Ghostbusters theme from Huey Lewis's I Want a New Drug, got sued and lost, and then Huey Lewis had to turn around and pay him because he talked about it publicly when he wasn't supposed to. So,
and then they sorted out the rights issue so that the song could actually be distributed. And
yeah, it's all sorted out now. So
that I didn't know that. That's interesting because that song does feel like a Huey Lewis in the News.
It does, yeah. It's just missing a couple of the ska isms of Huey Lewis.
Huh. That's interesting.
Oh yeah, they got the exact same like bass groove and everything. He won and sued and won, but he went and talked about it publicly, which was part of the deal. He wasn't supposed to. So then Ray Parker Jr. turned around and countersued him over the whole deal. And then, like Script said, in the end, they just kind of worked it out and washed their hands of the whole thing. So yeah. Wait, did I read that one? Shit.
And a lot of the former SNL cast members and Growling members were in the music video.
That's true. Yeah, we did read that one. Okay. Calvington says, hey, Calvington, how you doing, buddy? Says, I'm glad I didn't have to pay for Tom or Mexican Iron Man's tickets. I'm off the hook. Yes, you are. I would not even lie and say that I didn't like the movie when I really, really did. So you got that on me, Calvington. That is true. I made a bet with Calvington, and so did Mike. So there you go. Ryan Geiger says, this is my first trip back to the theater since madness started. So glad I went. Found myself smiling throughout the whole thing. Me too. All right, so we're caught up on super chats now. We're going to get into spoilers, guys. So if you've not seen the film and you don't want any spoilers, leave now. But I'm going to tell you this up front. If you've seen all the trailers, there's really not a whole hell of a lot to spoil. Let's be real on that. It's just kind of specific.
Should we throw the banner up?
Yeah, I'm going to throw the banner up. That's a good idea. Just real quick for a little bit anyway. So now we're going to get into spoiler territory.
I've been forewarned.
Yeah. So now, Yellowflash, since you seem to be the most critical of the film, let's let you go first, since there's some specifics you wanted to get into.
Well, okay, so a lot of my nitpicks, for one, is like when Phoebe gets the proton pack, she's just instantly a pro with it. And it's like, if you remember they had to test drive it in that hotel, and they were burning shit down, and they couldn't even hook Slimer up until they had a few minutes of practice, and she just does it right away, no problem. That was kind of a problem I had. Like,
Yeah, but they
there
were
should have been a little
pressure.
bit of struggle.
You're just chilling in a field.
It's funny you mentioned that, because that's where I felt like the film asked a little bit too much of me between those 2 or 3 scenes, because that's where the movie needed just a little bit of room to breathe, in my opinion, because you go from her putting the pack together, which I'm fine with that because she gets Egon's help.
Yeah,
I didn't
have a problem with that, because they set her up as being
like
smart
that.
and
The
capable.
part I was talking about, though, more so is they test it, right? And they go just from testing it
to using
Muncher,
it and being perfected.
Yeah.
To Muncher, to him getting the car done at the same time. Those 3 events all happening so quick in succession like that really took me out for a moment. And I'm like, I understand why they probably had to do it, because we're getting to the midpoint of the movie and you don't want to drag this down. But there was an easy way of doing that. All you had to do was space it out with a couple different scenes, right? You just have him first fix the car, go for a little bit of a joyride. You show that, and fine, no problem. Then you cut to the kids playing with the proton pack. Then you cut to like Paul Rudd and the mother doing something. And then you cut to McKenna and the other kid back at home now, after they have done something with the proton pack.
But see, this is all one of the film's biggest problems is the pacing.
And that's where I
get
you on that part. I think it went too fast. Yes.
Yeah, it moves way too fast. Like, taking Paul, because Paul Rudd was, I mean, he's the only comedian in it. Taking him out, and they didn't really use him that much. Like, I think making him become he was the keymaster, so taking him and making the keymaster right away. Like, they could have set that up and used him just like how they did with Louis Tully and had him be Vince and Goofy for a while, and they just totally threw that to the wind.
Totally agree, because he was doing a great job.
He's actually in the movie more than you really think about it, though, Flash. But that's the problem.
I'm one of those guys who's always like, Paul Rudd can only play Paul Rudd, but he was just right.
Because he doesn't get taken out of the movie until the last 20 minutes, if you really think about it.
Yeah, but even he wasn't even in it that much before.
He was in it quite a bit. Actually, I liked a lot of his bits.
Yeah, I did too. I thought he was funny in it. And
especially liked him showing the kids the horror film.
Yeah, it would have been funny to see him as the keymaster, as Vince.
I think there's a lot on the cutting room floor.
Yeah.
And we'll get to that. But we got to re-welcome back Paulie, who's finally home. Welcome back, Paulie. Glad you made it home safe. And we also have a lovely lady joining us. Hello, Lorena.
Hello, Tom. Hello, everyone. How are you doing?
We're doing amazing. And I want to hear from you what you thought of Ghostbusters.
Oh, well, literally, I just got home from the theater. And I have to say, I really, really, really enjoyed this movie. I mean, even just from the beginning, when they first go into the house, where Egon's daughter and the kids, they go into the house. As soon as they walk into the house, you notice a stack of books, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
And immediately people around the theater, along with me, said nobody stacks books like that.
No human being would stack books like that.
Well,
listen,
it's been a while.
You smell something?
Listen, you smell something? There was one line. Did anybody else do the line that they missed? I'm like, how did they not do that? It's like, is that your mom? And they're like, yeah. And then she turns to the dog and they're like, they didn't have one of the kids turn and go to the other one. Well, she's a dog.
And that's what I was waiting for.
I bet you they did that on purpose.
That you turned into a dog,
Because they knew somebody in the theater would, just like the book stacking thing. I bet
it's funny in the theater they didn't say anything about the dog, but the book stacking definitely, literally, that was like the first one.
The book stacks are cool. They drilled holes in a bunch of books and put a rope through the middle.
It was just like seeing that as a fan. I just love that. I love that part.
And then, Paulie, you had I'm sorry to interrupt you, Lorena, but so that's a great overall reaction, and it's fresh, right? It's like in the last hour, yeah?
Yeah, literally. I just got back from the movie theater like 15 minutes ago.
Awesome. And Paulie, last night you had a really amazing reaction. I was hoping you could share it with everybody. I saw it in your video.
Oh yeah. Oh, we're in spoilers now.
Well, yeah, but you were offline when we were doing initial reactions. I want to make sure you got a chance to give your overview.
Yeah, you didn't get the chance to give your initial reaction.
Yeah, I mean, I think this was a great 80s homage to a lot of different films that I grew up with, from E.T. to Ghostbusters. Just the look and feel of the filmmaking of Jason Reitman was just so well done, from beginning to end. It's really the storytelling was lovely, and the what I wasn't expecting was such a family oriented film. And you lived and died by the kids, and these kids delivered. They, the way it was written was that if these kids sucked, then this movie would have just, So I really enjoy the female lead, the little girl. She was incredible.
I did too.
I mean, I thought, every little thing that she was given was fantastic. Yeah, that was really my first impression. I was just like, I was sitting with Chris Gordon, and we're like, at the end, it's like, oh, man, I really like this film. It was just delightful. But and and it was scary too, and it didn't have a tremendous amount of action, but it was like, like that slow burn, and I don't know. I mean, yeah, even a little indie. There was a little bit of everything. I felt. So that was my first impression.
Yeah,
I don't agree with the slow burn. I think it moved too fast.
Yeah, I'm more on that side of things, but I loved it quite a bit. So
Really?
I can't.
No, I like that.
Say that
instead of
again.
an
You
action
said you didn't
scene,
agree with the
really.
slow
That it
burn.
went
was
too
more
fast?
I thought it moved too fast. It had pacing issues.
Yeah, I thought it
Really?
moved fast too, and like they were saying, another 20 minutes.
That's what I was saying. Is
Yeah.
another 20 minutes. I brought up an example. Is there's that chunk right in the middle that felt like it was just too convenient because plot. I mean, didn't take me out of the movie, but it was like you go from them testing the proton pack to finding Muncher to him conveniently fixing the car right all at the same time. Like they needed something in between there to kind of pad that out a little bit to make it feel more natural. Because even the first film, for example, they set up the business, all that shit happens. They don't see a ghost since the library ghost until Slimer, and by the time they get to Slimer, it's 20 some minutes into the movie, and
they destroyed that whole hotel trying to capture
not just
him
that,
because they didn't know how to use the proton packs.
But not just
they knew how to use them, they just didn't know how to aim.
Well, they had never used them before. But
that's what I'm saying.
Is like they're sitting there. They're like,
you missed a lot though.
But my point is they're sitting there for a little bit.
I really didn't have. I didn't
flowers
have
are still staying.
I really didn't think it.
We also have another person joining us, Mr. Ryan Kinel. How you doing?
Hey, what's up, guys? I also just got back, a couple hours ago, I guess, from watching Ghostbusters Afterlife.
Awesome.
Sounds like the consensus from you guys is everybody liked it quite a bit.
Yellowflash is a little bit more in the middle.
I'm in between 6 and 7 out of 10. I'm not sure which one I want to go with.
That's actually what I gave it. I gave it a 6.5.
It's an okay movie. I didn't think it was awful, but it's definitely not great. It's got some problems, but it's okay. Yeah. I don't think a 6 or 7 is bad.
I want to go back to saying the slow, how you don't agree with me saying slow burn. Emotionally, it was a slow burn. I see your point with pacing. It's just that I didn't expect an emotional payoff at the end that I got, and I was like, oh shit, they slow burned that shit on me.
Yeah, I expected.
I don't know if there's another word for that, but
Paul, the ending was great. I liked the ending.
Yeah, Paul, I think you captured it perfectly with what you just said. That is exactly what it was, an emotional payoff. And it is, Paul, you are hitting the nail on the head of what got me. And I didn't expect it. I didn't see it. I didn't see it coming. Really? And I maybe I should have, but I didn't see it coming. I just didn't. And I think that's because it was going boom, 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 boom. I was going so quickly, I didn't see it coming. And when it hit, that emotional payoff that Paulie just hit the nail on the head right there, that's what left me feeling like I wanted more. Like I'm ready for the sequel. And I'm not a big
I didn't like how some of the some of the problems, how they just moved through the whole breakup of the Ghostbusters with Egon. I thought was shit. Why wouldn't they believe him? They fought a gigantic marshmallow man together, but all
And
of a
a
sudden,
painting.
like, you know, they couldn't
They made it sound like
come
he
to agree with the
slowly went
fact that
nuts.
Zool might come back, and they think Egon's crazy. Didn't
Yeah,
Egon
it
try to
was-
drill a hole in his head? Remember that? But you know,
Yes.
that was the
That's not-
bottom
I don't think
line.
they thought he was crazy. Like the town thought Egon was crazy. The Ghostbusters didn't like him because he stole all of their equipment and then
took
took
off
it.
No,
and stuff and, like,
It wouldn't have had to
left
happen.
with it.
Why?
That was
No,
the
They
they
got to
said-
that point
issue
because
with
he
that.
took off with it because they
because they
wouldn't
didn't
believe
believe
him.
him. Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, Ray
They
said he
did-
didn't.
Why
believe
wouldn't
him.
they believe him?
Look,
I don't know.
I
look,
think that was a
still
little
think-
underdeveloped, but it didn't
I
ruin
s-
it for me.
Right, but I still think the film's a B plus, Paulie. I'm obviously, you know, there's not a lot of us here that think the film is better than a D, but I think it's a B plus. I think it's a good film. It's not a great film.
Well, this
but I
movie
think
was
it's a good film.
also like that scene specifically was written, and I noticed that this movie was set up in case Bill Murray didn't fucking show up and Rick Moranis didn't show up. That movie, they left openings for them to be there, but that line, there's that whole bit with Dan Aykroyd. There's him explaining why if Bill Murray wouldn't have showed up at the end, where he was, right?
Yeah.
That's what it
Well-
felt like to me on that part. But I get what you guys are saying. They could have come up with a little bit more of an excuse, but I knew it was all.
And I'm also tired of people not believing in ghosts. Fucking city, the city had two ghost attacks, but like no one believes in ghosts though.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a
Well,
tired
Paul
trope
Rudd
with
did.
this series.
It's basically be like if nobody believed like the I don't know if nobody believed that the Cold War ended or something. You know what I mean? Like something that happened in the late 80s or 90s.
Well,
to me,
it's a long time ago. People are really stupid.
I mean, think about that.
okay.
If that movie happened, there would be at this point, you would have universities dead, like with academic, like be a ghost degree you could get, because there'd be so much evidence that they were real. But
Well,
no, I don't believe in ghosts. That's fake.
You did have the thing between 1 and 2 where they kind of had the whole thing where they played it up like the Ghostbusters actually caused this, like all on their own. They faked the whole fucking thing and blew up a building. Like that's kind of how they presented it.
That should have been dealt with after the Statue of Liberty walked through downtown.
And again, we also have about 30 years of experience of conspiracies that have stemmed in our own lives since the movie of Ghostbusters 2, where people have arguments about what really happened with certain events or disasters in our society. So it's not beyond responsibility.
But here's my point, though, Ryan. I was going to get to was like in those movies, they kind of even brought it up to a point. Paul Rudd kind of hints at it, is like they were isolated phenomena. Like they had they even bring it up in the first film about how they have this astronomical spike in paranormal activity, and it's all surrounded by Zool, right? So that's kind of where like they get away with this whole idea that it's such an isolated incident that you got enough people in the world where they're like, oh, they're full of shit, especially when they went through court and stuff for the first movie and
sued by like the Tri-City area.
Yeah, and I thought it was terrible in the second one. It's like, oh, the judge, I don't believe in ghosts. Okay, yeah, that Marshmallow Man and
well, that was the whole thing. Is they presented it like they had made the whole thing up.
Did you enjoy this one more than Ghostbusters 2?
Yes,
right.
I like this better than Ghostbusters 2 for sure.
For sure,
yeah. Ghostbusters 2 it didn't age as well as the first. The first one still holds up, and I still think I think the first one is one of the best films ever made. To be honest, I would say it's almost a masterpiece of a movie.
And the first movie's the reason we've had all these bad movies after.
I do like that they add more to Zool. Like, she is the ruler of the underworld, basically.
Oh, that's
and
Gozer.
That's why she's burned.
Gozer.
Yeah. And that's why all the ghosts are coming back.
Well, Gozer's non-binary, though, right?
That was the other thing.
That's a line from the first.
The interesting thing that you
another good point too that Jesse made before we even started, and we can talk about it now, is why didn't all the traps suck up Ghost Egon?
Yes, thank you. All right,
why do they do it? Why are they discriminating?
That's one of my big things.
Because
like
they were evil ghosts.
No,
traps were smart enough to discriminate.
No. Come on, guys, be quiet for a second. I'll tell you why. They weren't. They were standing next to the other three Ghostbusters. They weren't standing over the traps. So why would they be sucked in by something they're not underneath?
Because the sky ghosts were all sucked in.
Yeah,
They
but
were-
that's
Yeah,
I
but
just
you understand
traps
the
were like-
trap is a line of sight, which means it goes out on an angle upward. So the
Oh.
further away you go, the wider it is.
Yeah, but this is like a gigantic trap, though.
No, it's
wasn't just
several hundred
individuals.
traps
But it was
planted
enough.
like crops.
I agree with Paulie. I agree with Paulie about the good versus evil.
No,
No, traps are discriminatory.
Script's description, because they show the wide shot, and you're right. It does go up in like that angle, like you
Tom,
said.
can I ask a question? To everyone here, do you guys think, because there's a generation, we want to forget 2016, so there's just a generation now that just has never seen these movies from the 80s, right? Do you guys think that they had to kind of like almost retell and, like you said, reignite the story? So the storytelling, they just had to like really just start from the beginning with
Well,
this.
Script could probably answer this better, but I do think they did a good job. If you've never seen the first two
Yeah.
movies, you can step into this movie and
You don't
not
even
be
need to
lost.
see the second one.
Yeah,
You
well,
have to see the first
It's
one's the only one
disappointing
they talk
because
about.
I think it will make more kids who do see this go want to dig up the other two. And it will be cool.
It would. I mean, the
because
emotional
that will
impact
put
would
them
not be
more
as
into
strong
younger
for someone who grew up with this
characters, because the
film, but
characters are doing the same thing they are.
yeah.
Yeah, I think that for me, I think that they did a really good job in the last 20 minutes of this movie by making everyone feel a lot. Even if you're not even that attached to this franchise, it was really hard to see. Like, it would be really tough to see CGI Harold Ramis and not like feel something when he's standing next to the rest of the Ghostbusters there. And what they did at the ending, I thought was incredibly well done and really powerful. For me, it wasn't enough to make me forget how much I didn't like the first hour and a half of this movie. I was not attached to these kids at all. I thought the fact that, his granddaughter, who's 12 years old and is just, literally perfect at everything. Not only is she an electrician, she can pick locks. She figures out how to use all the Ghostbuster equipment immediately. She does everything. And that is what it is.
Yeah,
But to me,
I did like her. I felt like she was a good little Egon
I would say I
Jr.
disagree. Yeah, I think she did a great job with what she. And I don't think she was.
She reminded me a lot of Egon.
Exactly.
I mean, she didn't have any friends, Ryan. I mean, she was like this,
we were
real
told she didn't
outcast.
have any friends, and then immediately she made a friend with the first interaction we saw her have with any person.
Yeah, but you know what I loved about
Well, that's
that,
just
Ryan?
a story. Really
Yeah,
quick, though.
that's got to be set up. We do have to get her some friends to have a
Well, and
cast.
that's the thing is that kid, that is basically how I picture Egon and Ray first met.
That was
is
what it was supposed to be.
exactly-
Like
yeah.
that kid with the poofy hair with the
is
marshmallow on him
Ray.
at the end. He's
Yeah.
supposed to be Ray, and that they even are
Yeah.
attached at the end. But I did not like the interactions between any of the kids. I found the first hour and 30 minutes unfunny. Not just not funny, unfunny.
Yeah,
no
but
one
you
laughed
hate
in my
women and
theater.
babies, though.
Well, no one laughed. Here's the thing: nobody laughed in my theater the first hour and a half of this movie.
I had a
I don't know.
couple.
We had plenty of laughs in ours.
I had a couple chuckles, but there was no. And I've never went into this movie expecting to laugh. I mean, I didn't. The first one, I
thought
can't
most of the
remember.
jokes landed at least.
Yeah, I
yeah.
laughed quite a bit, especially with some of the stuff Paul Rudd did. Like, I liked that whole scene at when they hooked the buses up to the trap.
Yeah.
I thought that was really funny.
Stuff was hilarious. Yeah.
He's like, yes, I am an adult. That means I'm liable.
Like,
So
I remember
all
the
shit. and
I
running.
mean, for the first
And
few
with the
minutes-
kids, though, see, they never explained why was he there and why was he like I guess he was there like investigating the town, but like they never really like why is he teaching school? Is it just so they can use his science lab there?
To me, the first
Who did he work for? Is he
Ghostbusters
just
is
an amateur?
Yeah, I think he was just an amateur. Like,
Well, he's kind of supposed to be like Bill Murray. He's a Bill Murray type, right? He's just trying to escape.
Bill
by.
Murray was a hustler, though. He wasn't.
Yeah, but Bill was worried about what he wants to do, while at the same time he was pretending to be a professor. That's kind of what we got here with Paul Rudd. He's doing his little thing while at the same time he's pretending to be a teacher. But like he's all interested in the seismograph stuff.
I mean, Ryan,
him and the mom were great together, and
Yeah,
it was
I mean,
an
you're-
underutilized thing.
You're
That was
going
another
on a
big
date.
problem I
Wasn't
had
enough
with
of
it.
it.
Yeah, Paul Rudd tied her to the cast more than she was tied to the children as far as chemistry goes.
Well, here's the thing, and I the only kid like Finn Wolfhard, he was all right, whatever. The one girl, his girlfriend or whatever, she was so. It was the Mackenzie, what's her face? What was her name again?
McKenna Grace.
McKenna Grace. She was the one who carried this film. And the fact is how young she was and how well she did. And I understand, Ryan, it's a subjective thing. Either you're going to like the character or you're not. I don't know about the Mary Sue thing. I didn't get that vibe from her like I would from like Ray.
I didn't either, because she was playing with the electricity, like she's learning how to fuck with stuff, right? But she broke it. And that was the final straw that got her kicked.
But how is she gonna? How are they? Those kids are they even gonna be in the sequel? Because I mean, well, we're in spoilers. Obviously, they're setting up Ernie Hudson reviving the firehouse, reviving. They had the blinking containment unit. Like they're
foreshadowed
gonna bring it back.
They foreshadowed it with the conversation between Finn and the girl when he was like, "Are you ever gonna leave?" And she's like, "I don't know." He's like, "Is it because you don't have a car?" Because he had a car.
Right.
That's the car they're leaving in to go to New York.
Well, I heard the theme. I don't know if it was the director or maybe somebody said that anybody can be a Ghostbuster is what was kind of one of the themes they wanted to put out in this, and that definitely sets up for more in the future. I guess depending on how well this one does. For me, and I'll just say my piece. I got a couple things that I got to do tonight. I appreciate you guys having me on, but for me, the first Ghostbusters is really special and unique and lightning in a bottle, and it's a story about guys in their around 30s who are like trying to figure out what they're gonna do, and they kind of just strike gold. I don't think was ever supposed to be some kind of teenage coming of age story, and I just, as much as I liked what they did at the end emotionally, I just did not like the rest of the movie. So it's kind of tough. I think they did a good job making people walk out feeling that way. And I think a lot of people are going to walk out feeling really good about the movie. And I don't know how long that will last. I don't know how long people will feel that way, a year down the road. But I guess we'll see.
Well, I did want to give Lorena a good exit, but she has to take off. But so do check out Lorena's channel. And yeah, thanks for hopping in, Ryan. Appreciate it. And
I will say, even though I don't really like the movie, if this movie wasn't called Ghostbusters and it didn't have that part at the end where almost everybody wanted to cry, I'd probably give it like a 5. I ended up giving it a 6.5 just because I felt a lot in it.
They really did throw the nostalgia up to 10 with this.
Mm-hmm. And even though I didn't like it near as much as everybody else probably will, I think that even not liking it that much, you could tell that their heart was completely in the right place with this movie.
That's what I said on Twitter. I agree.
A big difference from what we saw obviously in 2016. So I'm even more forgiving of the stuff I don't like because of that. I just think they made some wrong choices what to focus on in the movie, as opposed to wanting to desecrate what Ghostbusters is.
You want to know what my real problem with this movie was? When they finally showed the Ghostbusters at the end, it was basically in the fight, and they were too goofy off the bat. I liked when Bill Murray started talking smack, but they should have, when they first showed up, they should have been a hell of a lot more serious with the whole "Are you a god?" line. Like, it took a little bit too much time with that, and I thought that it just should have been more serious in the beginning.
I agree to a point. Like, they should have had Ray come in first. Like, they should have had him come in a little bit earlier and help assess everything and kind of, because I didn't have a problem how it played out, but I think it
as if they were using a plan that they figured out while they were standing there.
And you kind of just
by the car,
and you just have a moment where Ray's just like, I got to make a few phone calls, and then we know what he's up to, and then but I'm still fine with it, right? Like,
I want a director's cut of this movie.
But I see what you're saying, Jesse, but I don't agree with you. Maybe they could. I believe they needed to let the moment breathe, when and to have those conversations. And it's been a long time since they've confronted a ghost, right? Because they've stopped ghost busting decades ago. And so Ray would freeze up, right?
Yeah. And once again, this is my first impression. I got to watch this movie a couple of times, but I really wanted I just really wanted him to say, "You're damn right I am," or just something fast and to just blast her ass.
Yeah, I wish they could have set up more, but I do get what Tom said earlier. Like, you don't know if Bill Murray's going to show up. You don't know if he's going to show up because, he's got a long history of just not committing to shit or saying he will and not showing up.
Yeah, McKenna
So
Grace
they kind of had
actually-
to just. I bet you that there's two endings that were written for that movie. One with
There
Bill
was.
Murray, and without it. But I do think that Dan Aykroyd would have jumped to the chance to do more, and I don't know why he wasn't written in more. Like he could have been heavy, and I bet even Winston could have been a part of this a little bit more.
Oh yeah, and you know he's down.
Yeah, he'll be a big part of
Maybe
the
that's
sequel.
why he got that after credit scene, because maybe he's going to be in a lot of the sequel.
He'll be the financer for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I was really
business.
upset they didn't find a way to work Rick Moranis in even for just a little bit.
He didn't want to do it, I bet.
Oh no, he didn't. Obviously, but he's more than happy to take Disney money for a fucking Shrunken movie. But anyhow,
yeah, they didn't want to give him the money he wanted to come back. Probably that's
could
what it
be.
Is.
I mean, it just wouldn't have been a beefy
Let's
enough
hope for a good box office return so they could afford him
for the next one. Yeah,
now, if they could bring him back as Louis Tully for the next one, that would be great.
Yeah, he's still living in New York doing his thing.
Yeah.
I'm gonna grab a couple of these super chats real quick. Preston Bruno says, to be fair, I think she's only at pro at it because she knows how it's built. Obviously, the Ghost Egon helped her. Yeah, we did cover that. I think you sent that before I pointed that out as well. But yeah, I didn't have too much of an issue with that. David Little said, fun movie. There were some make guys weak scene. I think he means weep scenes, but it was fun. That's a heavy pack to throw around. There should have been a little realism. I did make that point. I'm like, shit, that pack probably weighs more than she does.
I thought she was going to fall over.
Yeah. Preston Bruno says, oh no, it moved too fast, or queef jokes. Pick one.
Nobody argued that it's not better than 2016.
No, I think he's just.
And nobody's said it was a bad movie.
No, I know.
It just sounds like
understand we're all kind of critics and hard on things.
Sure, my brother. It just sounds like you had the big expectations going.
Oh, I did.
Yeah,
my hype for the movie was high.
Yeah, I hear you.
Yeah, I had to temper my expectations a little bit, Flash. Like, I mean, I knew a lot going in already, but I heard every person that I had talked to that had seen the movie early, that I trust their opinion, was gushing over it so much. I'm just like, oh God, I'm going to be like too high of expectations going in. So I really had to like back off my expectations a little bit. And I think that's why I managed to enjoy it as much as I did potentially.
Yeah, I didn't hate it. I liked it. I didn't like it as much as I guess I thought I would.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm not kidding. I'm stretching to try and remember the last time in recent years where I had this much fun at a movie, and I loved being there, and I didn't like check my clock 20 times to see how much farther I had to go till this fucking thing was going to be over, and like just the Marvel business, like we said, and I was loving every minute, taking in every moment. It was just refreshing to me, and I get the nostalgia factor of it. Like that is not, I totally understand that, and I see that, and I didn't cry. It didn't get me there. It could have, but it just didn't push me to that point because I was just pulling myself back a little bit yet. Like maybe if I actually just get myself completely invested in the movie, right? Like, because I mean, it was kind of an experience because I had my buddy there who I hadn't been with in a while and stuff like that, and some other people were with me, and then we had, there was a fairly packed theater, and I'm sorry to hear that the audience you were with, Flash, didn't laugh, but we had quite a few laughs throughout. Like from the first
No, there were a couple
joke.
laughs. Ryan said nobody laughed in his theater.
Oh, that's right. Sorry.
My theater, everybody laughed throughout. And Tom,
pretty much ever since that one line where the kid's like, there's no bars. And she's like, there better be a bar. Like that was like, it seemed like that was the point from then on. Everybody just kind of like had no problems with the movie. It was
I like that scene because the little girl says, or that's funny, Mom. And you could just tell that like she's the one person in the family that actually like is supportive of the mother.
I think back to like, so I watched the second one yesterday and I watched the first one the day before. I wanted to watch both before I go this. And when I watched the first one, I still laughed at some stuff harder than I did in this movie. But I never said I was expecting this movie to be a comedy. This is a lot of people's criticism of it. That is, it's not going to be a comedy. And I said, it doesn't need to be a comedy. It can be, like a thriller, kind of family suspense movie, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that. But like some of the stuff, especially with Rick Moranis, like always locking his door, like that cracked me up every time in that movie. And that's something that is missing from the movie.
Well,
And I
that's
don't
the
think
only
that you
thing
can ignore that criticism. Like, it is a valid criticism that people have of it.
To a point, you're right, yes. But we also had this discussion earlier, like I was saying, like Andre and I, and like, yeah, the thing is with that first movie is it's not written like a comedy, and the comedic elements come out of the dry humor and the moments. And the only thing that's really more like played like straight comedy is Rick Moranis' character, right? Like, he's the only one that's played for complete laughs until
Bill Murray's played for laughs. Like, it's not plotted. It's
like
not
that,
plotted like a comedy,
exactly,
but it is very much written as a comedy. It's plotted.
My point is, it's not like a Caddyshack.
That's the genius
like
of the movie, though.
It's not
exactly,
like those other films. Like,
you can never replicate
that element to it.
Look at
you
Mikey.
never replicate that first movie. It's magic in a bottle, like Ryan said. They're never going to be able to replicate that. That's why I don't hold that against them with the comedy bit. Like, that was like 2016's biggest problem, is it tried to be some slapstick bullshit comedy, and it didn't work.
But the thing is,
I look at this from a different angle than you guys. I'll refer you to Evil Dead. In the beginning, Ash was one way. Then in the second movie, he was another way, and then he went completely crazy, and he got Army of Darkness.
Well, actually,
the more you're around all this crazy shit, the more you start going a little bit mad.
Well, no,
so
Jesse, this is the way I look at it. Like, okay, Caddyshack, Stripes, Blues Brothers, all those are comedies that are written in a specific way that are way different than Ghostbusters. Ghostbusters has more in common with American Werewolf in London than it does with those other movies, right? And that's what I'm getting at here, is the humor comes out of the human elements. That's where Bill Murray's dry humor comes into play. That's where, the elements of the guys dealing with the actual ghosts and the terror, the terror of actually facing ghosts. That's where the humor comes out of. And other than that, you just have Rick Moranis' character, who's actually playing the comedic element of the part. Like, if this is a Marvel movie, he'd be your Spider-Man character cracking jokes throughout. That's my point.
I don't know. I'd say the stuff that between Bill Murray and Sigourney Weaver is pretty comedic.
Oh, yeah, I love that.
Comedy,
yes.
And
that was great to see. That's the criticism I have with that scene is, why couldn't Oscar pop out? Like, so where was he at? This is why I wonder if the second one is just kind of silently dismissed a little bit.
Well, I'll ask you a question. Did anyone see any evidence of the slime packs anywhere? Because I didn't.
I didn't either, and I was hoping for that, but they did have like the colander and a few other things that have been present in both movies. That was the other thing I was disappointed with, because there is 2 cars. Like,
where's Ecto 1A?
I was watching in a video.
I thought the guys were going to show up in 1A, yes.
In their kitchen in the movie, in the farmhouse, the toaster on the counter, or the toaster box, is from the toaster that they put the slime in.
Okay, I knew there was a few things in there from the second one.
The whole house is full of Easter eggs.
Yeah.
I never saw the toaster. I didn't see the toaster.
It's the toaster. It's the box for the toaster is just sitting on top of a cabinet.
But where is that's a good point, Tom, and that's something that I was wondering. Where is Ecto 1A?
It would have been a perfect place to bring it in,
because that was one of the reasons they were mad at Egon, is because he took off with Ecto 1.
And here's the point:
where was possible that
because
Winston
they cut that out of part 2. Technically, unless you see the deleted scenes or know what happened in part 2 that's not in the movie, you don't realize that there's 2 different vehicles. As far as the movies are cut, you only think there's one.
Yeah, I mean, so they did buy a second Cadillac, the same 1959 Cadillac, and they just redid it.
Yes. Because in the second movie, Ray wrecks the first one.
Well, because he's taken over by Vigo.
He's taken over by Vigo. And they cut through all that stuff. And if you notice, if you watch throughout the movie in different scenes, there's a big dent in the hood because of it. And they had a whole new car for the second movie. It's not the same one from the first one. They make that whole point in a scene that's all deleted. All that stuff's deleted out. So
it doesn't even look like the first one.
It's the same Cadillac. It's the same model,
it's got a lot of differences, and they
still
a
59 Cadillac hearse.
Yeah, but they still call it 1A, and they had the caution tape around it, and they changed the logo.
Unless you had the novel, you have no idea of any of that.
It's got that piece thing for 2.
It's got the scroll.
You're right. But unless you've read the novel, you don't know any of this shit, because that's all stuff.
I got that it was a second different car just from that when I was a kid.
No, I thought it was a refit, because that's what people do. They soup up their cars. And the other part, too, is like the Ecto 1A is what they're driving when they go to the museum, which is the scene where Ray gets possessed. And then after that is when he wrecks it, or supposed to have wrecked it. It's basically they just wrecked the car, and then they took all the advertising that they put on the old one and put it on the new one then, wouldn't it?
Something like that. I can't remember. I have to dig out the novel.
I have a question. If they call it the Ecto 1A, does that mean that in the movies somewhere they were planning on adding the small 1 or 2 man Ecto 2 chopper?
Dan Aykroyd was such a nerd that in his headcanon that did exist. I guarantee you that. Like, it may not have showed up in the movie, but in his headcanon it does exist. He knows all these gadgets in and fucking out.
Oh yeah, everything on top of the Ecto-1 is supposed to be something that really.
He knows what they all are for. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
In the video game, it's supposed to be like trap.
Yeah,
like some kind of special
there's
trap.
There's
a trap on the roof.
like
Yeah.
With a hose. Yeah.
Hey, when they cast the second movie that's coming up, can they get Danny Trejo as Gozer, please?
You want Gozer again?
I want Danny Trejo in this damn movie.
I think we're done with Gozer, but we can get a different bad guy.
Danny Trejo would make an awesome.
Well, this is technically the third time they've used Gozer because Gozer was the villain in the game, which
yeah, you're right.
It sucks that game is not canon now. I guess
that's kind of what they're saying.
I just have to plug Danny Trejo. I'm sorry.
No, we love it.
You know, Paulie, while you're talking, can I get you to follow up on a comment you made earlier? I wanted you to finish your thought. As someone who's had a lot of experience around actors in Hollywood and the profession, how did you feel about the performance of the kids and the actors and overall in the movie?
Oh well, like I said, they knocked it out. I mean, the lead, she knocked it out. Yeah, you know, I don't think I've liked a kids cast like this since E.T. I mean, Stranger Things was kind of like, you know, was too homage-y. I mean, the first season was cool, but it was too homage, you know, to the 80s. Goonies was good. E.T. and Goonies, but I just love the kids, and kind of just like what he had said, the older brother and then the girlfriend, that was all right, you know, but it was really what's her name? I'm so sorry. Egon's grandkid, and then podcast
Mackenzie Grace.
No,
I just call her Phoebe.
McKenna Grace. No, I keep fucking it up.
Grace.
Phoebe's her name in the movie. Phoebe's her name in the movie. Yeah.
I got no complaints on kids.
What's that?
I have no complaints on the kids.
Yep.
Well,
I thought they did a good job.
I mean, as actors, someone did some great casting.
Culture does have to go, though. So
I
you
do.
want to give some final thoughts real quick, Culture, before you head out?
Yeah. This is a movie that I enjoyed. Again, a B+. I want to say that I would not beat the brakes off of this movie. And
why don't you come find out?
Yeah, well,
come find out.
I might be down in that neck of the woods.
I'm so proud I was on that episode.
It was so great to watch you guys too. I died. You was laughing my butt off. But anyway, I had I had a good time at the film. I gave a spoiler-free 5-minute that nobody's going to watch now because we've all just talked about it forever.
Oh, somebody will check it out who hasn't seen the movie yet.
It's fine. I just want to say that it's not a waste of your time to see the movie. Please don't let anybody here make you think that way, because it is worth seeing, and you'll see the tonal difference that Action Com's talking about right here. That I think was one of the weird things that kept me from saying this was an A level movie, because you can see the difference between we can do anything we want comedy versus we have to be really careful.
This is a good point. Like, although the movie wasn't woke, that's a good point and a good segue.
Yeah, it's not woke at all.
Thank you for being here, Culture.
Well, there are some intersectional elements, and I didn't get a chance to do that here. But anyway, I just want to say thank you. I love hanging out with you guys and miss you all. I will see you soon.
Thank you for my
I wish we could keep talking. I wanted to know what the maybe I missed it.
The
actual woke line where she said, "Oh, woke even 1,000 years ago."
Yeah. There were a couple of elements. And going back through it, I think like I said, if you were looking for ghosts, you were going to find them in here. Pun not intended. But you actually, there were a couple of moments that truly were intersectional in here, and that's okay. I mean, you're going to get some of that baked
well,
in.
I think.
Yes, yeah, but it was still there. It was still pretty evident. There were moments that they were trying to stuff it in there, and I'd love to talk specific, but I really do have to dip. I'll believe me, I'll talk about this film for a couple weeks, I'm sure. So you guys have a good one. I'll see you soon. Bye.
I wasn't looking for it really. I didn't think it was going to be in there.
I thought it was more of an acknowledgement. That
the only one I remember was like the kind of like the whole little one line, and then at the very very end, and the
Are you talking the line where they said how are these built when she says slaves? I thought that was just a joke. I mean, it's
that was a
true. They
joke.
were built by slaves.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
didn't see
Yeah,
that.
that's, I thought that
Paulie,
was
I'm-
true too.
Paulie,
I didn't think that was bad.
Paulie, did you catch any of that? Like with culture, I didn't catch any of that. Paulie, did you?
I didn't catch any wokosadas.
The
Nada.
only
Yeah,
part I did, and it was funny. It was during the
Nada.
bit with Bill Murray and Sigourney Weaver, and it's when
Yes,
she's zapping
at
him.
the- yes, at
And
the
he
end.
goes, I would zap him anyway. Well, just the girls anyway. He goes, I would only zap the girls anyway. So then she zaps him for that.
No, I would only
That's-
zap
she
the
says,
guy.
"I always
a
zap the
good
guys,"
husband and
and then
wife
she zapped
moment.
them.
Yeah,
They're
you're telling the
obviously
truth.
married, which I enjoyed that fan service that they're married now.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
That's what a married
was-
couple would do.
Totally.
Yeah,
And
I didn't think
it's kind of
anything
a
wrong with
payback.
that.
It's a little bit of a payback.
Yes, it
you
is.
know.
I loved it.
Yeah.
Like I
That
said,
was-
I had no
That's
problems with it
That's
whatsoever.
different. That's different. You know,
Yeah.
It's okay. They're gonna bang later.
Yeah, that was just a husband
know?
and wife, and I'm so glad that we got to see that they got married and stuff. That was nice to see. That did put a big smile on my face.
But yeah, Action
She
Com
doesn't
says
have any
raise it up,
residual
man. Come
effects
on,
of
give it a
possession.
7. Come on.
Action Com says one minor tonal issue towards the end. We got to see 2021 comedy versus 1984 comedy. The gulf between the two was too wide to bridge. I don't know. I felt that
The 2016, yeah.
I mean, I kind of get where he's coming from to a point, but as soon as Bill Murray came on and started doing the Bill Murray thing, it was like riding a bike again after.
Well, not only
they're
that,
trying to be a comedy.
There's a scene
here's the
in
other
there
part.
It wasn't
where
a comedy. That's the thing.
Yeah,
they're
it
talking
doesn't
about
have
how
to be a
no one
comedy.
cared
Like,
about
I don't.
Egon.
This is
right,
the
when he
biggest.
died.
This is the biggest complaint I have about people that are critical of it. Is that it needs to be this outright comedy. It's not trying to be a big comedy, and it doesn't need to be a comedy. This is the problem with.
Well, that's what I was saying.
One of
It's
the
not a
biggest problems
Stripes.
of
It's not a
2016 is
Caddyshack.
it was
Exactly,
trying
yeah.
to be a comedy.
Right.
You're never going to capture that first movie's jokes again.
That's why I think
Don't
the
even
comment,
try.
the super chat, was more fitting for the 2016 tonal comedy with that.
Well, this one had
winery.
this one had a great joke where after they're knocked down, Bill Murray is trying to distract Gozer again, and Ernie Hudson Winston tries to shoot, and he's
Yeah,
like, "Well,
quick
it's
draws
worth a
his
shot."
ass.
I'm like, that is very much traditional Ghostbusters style. I'm giving you the joke. I'm giving you over. I'm setting you up for a payoff type of thing, and carrying it back and forth. That's what back in the day, those 4 guys, now sadly 3, did. And I thought that was quite well done. It's like they slipped back into a comfortable pair of shoes.
Yep,
And if
Bill's
this
just
was-
like, oh, well, didn't work.
If this was any type of Wokosada, they wouldn't even have Egon as the grandfather.
No, they certainly wouldn't have him supporting the girl.
I mean, he literally walked her each step of the way to, and I mean, even at the end, they brought him back saying, that was the Luke Skywalker I wanted, man.
Well, here's the question, right?
That shit should have happened to Luke Skywalker. I'm going to hold your hand and I'm going to, Ray, and we're going to beat the crap out of Palpatine. That was that, man.
Well, the question you have to ask is, was Egon doing that when she was first testing the proton pack as well? Because he's been next to her, we know, with the chessboard, with the using the lights to direct her throughout the rest of the compound that is his property.
And
was
she was
he
about
there
to fall
while
over
she was
with the
testing?
damn pack, and then he could have pushed her back over. That's a very good point.
We don't know. I mean, it's left up to our interpretation, but it's not outside of the realm of possibility.
Yeah, but that's what the movies are supposed to do. That's good. Very well crafted.
I mean, I think it was like, was it really a coincidence that podcast hit that lever to trigger the sidecar aspect of it? Or maybe was that manipulated by Egon, who's there with them all the time? We don't know. There's lots to take from this film with regards to that. Now that we know that there's this rule where Egon as a ghost can interact to a degree with the rest of these characters.
Well, that's one more thing about bridging the gap with the time. The scene where they're talking about everybody calling him the crazy old dirt farmer, right? And when he died, no one cared. And then the imagery you see over this is just people in the town living their lives because time passed on. And I really thought that was a good bridge of the gap between the old and the new, because it's a different world we live in. So the jokes are going to be different. The tone is going to be different. But those people that are alive back then still exist in today's world. It's just a completely different world. And I thought that was very good. I thought there was a lot of good stuff in this movie.
Are you a god?
Come on, Ray, you know this.
Damn right I am. That's what I wanted. That's all I wanted.
Action comedy.
Canadian accent.
Those voices were cool, Tom.
Jason Reitman's chip off the old block. I agree, Action Com. I think he did a wonderful fucking job. And we've got a 400 Australian dollar super chat, however you want to say that, from D. It says, great people creating great conversations, and it's always fun to listen to you all. Popcorn is on me. Well, thank you so very much. That should pretty much cover that, actually. So I'll have to tell Andre that one's mine.
Before I got to take off.
No problem, man. Thank you so much
before I go.
Yeah.
So what do you think about sequel? Like, I think they want to do it, but will make enough money. Like, so what do you think that direction is that they go with a sequel? Because they're obviously setting the business back up. Ernie Hudson will definitely be more in it. He'll be like the financer. You know, I don't know if he suits back up. I would say Dan Aykroyd would probably come back.
What about Annie Potts?
Bill's not coming back. Bill's done.
Well, I don't know, because one of the stipulations for Ghostbusters 2 was that for Bill Murray was that Winston had more of a role because he actually really likes Ernie Hudson. And that was the other part too, where they were talking about Ghostbusters Going to Hell, which is Bill Murray said the only way I'm doing is if Ernie Hudson's character has as much screen time, as much involvement as all the other guys. That's one of the stipulations. And the issue happens, I guess, that Bill Murray just wasn't satisfied with.
He technically got more here than the other guys.
That's true. And on top of that too, like, we know Ernie Hudson loves the franchise. We also know he'll do it because, for crying out loud, he actually guested on a couple of episodes of Arrow. And I mean, like, geez, if he's going to do Arrow, he'll definitely do Ghostbusters.
Oh, Ernie loves Ghostbusters.
Yeah,
he's very likable. He's very likable.
He is.
So,
I like that he's like. I like
too.
that he
He's
was
very
rich
nice.
and taking care of Ray.
Yeah,
but he wasn't.
And that
like,
he had a great.
wokey.
That was his frat years as the Ghostbusters, basically. Like, that's the kind of how he looks at it. So, like, I think he comes back and he'll be like the boss of the Ghostbusters. He'll be the CEO.
Yeah. Well, I love the fact that he's taking care of Ray because Ray's the one that hired him.
Yeah.
It's like, fabulous. You're hired. It's like, and he needed a steady paycheck. And it's like, boom, how can you not want to take care of a man who gave you a shot when you're down on your luck?
That's pretty much what he says. Yeah. He's like, you guys gave me a steady paycheck.
You know, he says, you give me a paycheck, I'll believe in anything you say.
Well, he reiterated it in that last scene too, as well.
Right. I was talking about the first movie.
Yeah. But yeah, Yellowflash, I'm so glad you could make it in here, buddy. Appreciate it. I wish you would have loved the movie a little bit more. Maybe you'll like it a little more on reviews, but no,
I didn't hate it. I
know, but I just wish you'd enjoyed it as much as I did, because like I had a moment, like I wish I could explain this to people. Like Mike probably gets more what I'm getting at than I think anybody here on the panel. Like, for me, as a kid growing up with Ghostbusters, I understand why there's grown men crying in the theater right now. This is what they deserved for Star Wars.
Did we miss Egon?
Yeah,
it was very emotional at the end.
This was a much better revival of a franchise than Star Wars did. That's for
Force
damn
Awakens.
sure.
Yep.
Thank God, really.
Hey, Yellowflash, are you going to do a video on your review?
Yeah, I'll probably do one tomorrow.
Awesome.
Nice.
It'd be between a 6 and a 7. That's not bad. That's not bad.
I think I'm leaning more towards the 7, but I just there were some issues with it. But it was, I guess, it's never going to be perfect.
No.
But I didn't hate it. I just didn't fall. I didn't love it, but I didn't hate it. It was okay. It was good. I'm looking forward to more. I'd like more.
What I love though, Yellowflash, is that the issues you have with it are like general movie issues, not it was fucking woke.
I didn't think it was woke at all.
All that kind of stuff that we normally have issues with movies nowadays. Like,
but let me just say, Yellowflash, that really it's podcast number 47 where it really finds it.
Podcast number 46.
He's like, you're my subscriber.
Was it 46?
Freaking Paulie nails it. Paulie with the home run hit.
Hey, did you guys notice when the ghosts were released and that one ghost broke through the glass with the eyeball, that was one of the real Ghostbusters
Yes,
toys?
my buddy who was with me, he eBays shit. He's like, that's a real Ghostbuster toy. I'm like, yeah, I thought that.
Cool.
Yeah.
Oh, that's pretty cool. I got to jump though. I got to man. Have me, guys.
Love
I'll
you,
talk
buddy.
to you.
Anytime you need something, just let me know.
Peace.
Take care, Yellowflash.
Good seeing you.
Bye, guys.
Yeah, that was my only other gripe as far as not a cameo. Where was Slimer? I thought at the end we were going to get a
Muncher,
cameo from
man.
Slimer in the station.
I didn't even think about that the
I'm
entire
like,
He would be
oh,
in New York, man.
Yeah, well, they have him at the end of the station when the containment light thing blips up. I thought for a moment we'd have Slimer sitting there going,
you know what they should have done in the scene with Bill and Sigourney Weaver? They should have just had him floating by in the background like he lives there.
He's like, why do we keep him here? And she's like, because I think he's cute.
He was babysitting Oscar for 7 years.
So
He babysat Oscar for 7 years.
But no one brought it up yet. But the whole thing when they finally got down into the mine shaft, the kids, I'm saying, and they see the pit, basically the pit to hell or the underworld or the portal or whatever, with all the bodies coming up. Then they realized that Egon had already been down here setting up this basic like fire extinguishing system of sorts to try to keep the whole thing at bay, and that's what's causing all this stuff to happen. I really enjoyed that because it just showed that, like, when the guy from the hardware store is like, yeah, he bought a lot of weird shit. Like, yeah, I bet he did.
Well, you can't get plutonium at a gas station, Marty.
Yeah, exactly.
Max Santiago says the tribute to Harold Ramis was great. Speaking of, it was a good B+. Yeah, we didn't even get to that part. How great of a job did they do? I don't know if it was CGI deepfake or if they found somebody who looked like him or what they did.
I mean, it was beautiful, bro.
It looked amazing.
Yeah. It was like, I mean, it was such a great payoff too. You know,
well, they had a facial scan of Harold. Sorry, Paul. They had a facial scan of him for the Ghostbusters video game, so they probably used that as a foundation.
Smart.
I'm sorry, Paulie. Go ahead.
No. I'm just, I'm feeling the vibes with the Harold Ramis homage. It was just,
I like that when he stood next to the other Ghostbusters supporting his granddaughter. Like Winston just looks over at him and he like kind of reacts, but he doesn't really react because he's like used to ghosts.
Yeah, I love.
He's just like happy that he's there. Then they all do it in turn. They're like, "Oh, cool, Egon's here."
I loved his reaction. I see Jay loved it as well. Well, I'm glad to hear that. Drunk 3PO. Planner Aspect says, "I'm back and I've seen it. It's everything I wanted. Everything. So happy. Everyone should go. The message must be sent. This is what movies should be." I agree.
It's definitely the right direction. Yeah.
Yep.
Like
and I think it's really important that our community does go and support this film because there are already hit pieces out on it and saying that 2016 is rated better and this and that. Send a message.
The fans will speak.
Who
I heard
Ghost Core will
rate
support
that
this.
better. Like you'd have to be like severely inbred.
I heard grown men weep. They will kill for this movie. You just wait.
Yeah, the Ghostbusters fan club, the Ghost Core community will absolutely love this film.
I love that they had Shandor.
It's a fucking love letter to the fans.
Preserved like Lennon.
Yeah, exactly. He was just like Lennon. And then
I'm like,
rips
that
him in
looks a
half
lot like J.K. Simmons. And then when he
shit.
speaks, I'm like, it's J.K. Simmons. I didn't know he was in this movie.
It was good shit.
Preston Bruno. The only thing that truly upset me was when Phoebe tried to use the proton pack to blow away the sheriff. I thought she would be better than that.
She had fallen in love with her not in a bad way, but like with her grandfather by that point. She actually cared about this man who is she finds out is a lot like her.
That's very Egon-like, actually, if you think about it.
Because your mother,
because he's very calm and collective until you piss him off.
See, she's smart though. I thought instead of doing something like that, she would just open the trap.
See, I wish Yellowflash was here to hear this part too, because Jesse, going back to your original point about that whole thing with the fight. See, that's where I kind of was okay with it, because Egon is one of those people that when he gets his mind set on something and he gets pissed off, like the whole your mother scene and stuff like that, like he doesn't hold back. Like I'm sure he pissed Ray off, because clearly what they're setting up here between Phoebe and him is he's probably been somebody who's autistic his whole life and he's never been diagnosed. Yeah. Right? Like that's clearly what he is. Like that's how they talk about all, because as a father,
kind of like Tesla married a pigeon, didn't he?
I don't know about that, but I mean,
I don't know about that, but he had multiple
either
degrees
him
and
or,
PhDs on the wall, right? So
yeah.
Lovecraft.
But the whole thing is
Yeah,
is
that was
raising
great.
a son who's autistic. I see all these things now
Mm-hmm.
in retrospect, right? Especially through Phoebe, and that's why she did such a the actress did such a great fucking job. She didn't do an imitation of Egon,
no, she did not.
but she did her own interpretation. But at the same time, it was like you could tell like that was his grandchild. Like everything.
Yeah, it felt like
Egon
organic offspring.
Exactly.
I like how it jumped the mom, but yet the mom had a connection to it.
She was a complete idiot. Yeah.
I mean, you talk about not being woke. They went the other direction with the mom.
Yeah,
the mom was a sad character. She didn't have a job. She blamed her dad for everything.
Podcast was like, you got a little
two
humpy.
children out of
She's like,
wedlock,
humpy.
evidently. You know.
Well, she had 2 kids, but like the thing is, we don't know the relationship of like other than the fact that her boyfriend or husband was a creep. But apparently, he stood around. He was around long enough for Phoebe to develop a personality that he just couldn't attach to, and then took off.
And that's where I said, like, and that's something that happens in sometimes with parents of autistic kids. You will have one parent who just cannot deal with it, and that's where I said there's so many things, and even though they don't say it out loud, it's clear. Like, because even Dan Aykroyd, I'm sure he had a lot to do with that because he just was diagnosed in recent years. He didn't know he had Asperger's all these years. I mean, clearly somebody who knew him would probably be able to figure it out if he knew anything about it.
Well, he probably had something like he's a high functioning. I mean,
exactly.
I would say the autism aspect is a little moot. I think it's just more like they're so hyper focused that they appear to be socially awkward when in fact they're just not developing those skills because they're more interested. I mean, I love the kid's line. Like, I'm a fan of learning, not school. This is just state-funded, institutionalized, like work slavery.
She's Egon's kid,
yeah,
or Egon's grandkid. I mean, anyway, but yeah. That's something Egon would say. I Cthulhu says same good feel as back Bill and Ted 3.
Did we lose Tom?
Yeah.
I had to clear my throat here. Sorry.
Oh, okay.
There we go.
All right.
Excuse me. Same feel good as Bill and Ted 3. I agree, but way too much exposition. I don't know. I think there should have been more. Show don't tell. Love the cinematography and location. And why I say that is because we've had 30 years in between here they had to fill in. And you get a lot of that in that.
Well, we got to dump through Ray on that phone call, but like again, I have to support like Yellowflash. I think the pacing was a little weird. The first 30 minutes was kind of off, but as soon as you got Paul Rudd and they do the trap, the thing just kind of rushes through a lot of stuff.
See, I enjoyed the beginning.
But the thing is, it's way more
Karate Kid.
It's way more character focused than it is plot, which is actually really good. The plot is very simple. Is that Egon is keeping at bay a resurgence of Gozer, and he died doing that, and now his kids are kind of like left to sort of pick up the pieces at the sort of the spiritual guide of Egon himself. The stuff they're doing, the PKE meter, I loved. The chess game was great, but yeah, it felt like the pacing was a little off, and I think that's because there's so much stuff that Jason Reitman wanted to do as being an excited person to be shepherd of this franchise that he probably just couldn't balance it out as well. Because again, the first 2 Ghostbuster films are about an hour and 45 minutes each, and they're really well paced and solid. And this one's like what 150, an hour 55.
See, the thing
2
is,
hours and 2 minutes.
I wonder if he shouldn't have had. I don't know if Ivan had more to do with the editing of the first 2 films or what. But rewatch those movies now, script, because there's a couple scenes I believe in both films where you can tell they're completely out of sequence, but they cut them in to help with the pacing. Because specifically one that comes to mind is like the trap scene where he's showing Winston in the first film. That is all one chunk of a scene that they split up over like almost 30 minutes of the movie. But you can tell it's all the same scene because Ray has all the same markings and shit on his clothes, and Winston's still wearing the same clothes. But they cut it up and because they have the stuff in between. To
the EPA stuff, you mean?
And they even have well, it goes to that, but they even have because they jump from, if you notice, because I didn't notice it until this last time I was watching it from my editor's point of view. You go from Winston coming in, Bill Murray's there, and then they hire him, and then you cut to Bill Murray with Sigourney Weaver.
Oh yeah, because Winston's taking off his gray blazer jacket, right?
Yep, and then it cuts back to the scenes with Winston, and then you cut back to Bill Murray. He's automatically back at the ghost station again, and that's where they have the EPA thing. That scene with Sigourney Weaver was supposed to happen somewhere else, probably, but they put it in there for padding of some type of pacing or something. Because
Yeah, you're talking about the scene where Pete Venkman goes and he's in the orange jacket and he's talking to Sigourney.
Yes.
Yeah.
See, they moved that scene from a different section. I'm like that now noticing. I'm like, I notice it like completely, but as a kid growing up all these times, all these years, you don't notice it. But there's no way for Bill Murray to physically be in both places. And then he changes his outfit right away when he gets to the EPA scene, if I remember right.
Well, basically, he's coming off from another job. Like that's the way that they cut that together. And the reason that they do it that way is so that we're being afforded a bit more time so that Winston understands what the going ons of here, as opposed to just getting a crash course day one.
Yes, that's the point I was going to get to. Because okay, take care, Paulie. Love you.
Have a good night, man.
Because you're right, Script. Because check out Latino Slant, and Monday we got Danny Trejo coming on. But no, like because you're right, because the way they pace that, otherwise, the first job Winston goes on and stuff like that, the way it's paced, like you're right, it gives him a little bit more time, and it feels like it's been more time. That's what I was trying to get to. But anyhow, I lost my point in that all.
No, that you actually retained your point because it's all about just making sure that he feels like a part of the team. Because they don't have a montage again, right? They don't have another montage. He's introduced after the montage.
Yes. And that's my point, because otherwise it's all one scene there. And if you played it all as one scene, then that'd be like the only Winston scene until like, I think his next scene is with Ray in the car.
With Ray in the car, yeah, because they also cut out him and Ray going to the haunted house where Dan Aykroyd gets freaky with a ghost.
Yep.
Which they just used as a dream sequence.
And I think that's probably why they had to recut that all out of sequence, because that Bill Murray scene probably happened while they were gone.
He was touched by an angel.
Yeah.
That came his wife. I think they were married at that time, weren't they?
They were married.
Yeah, because they met on Dr. Detroit, right?
Yeah, because Dan Aykroyd's eldest daughter is like a couple of years younger than me. So yeah, they'd have been married by that point.
They either met on Dr. Detroit or one of the other movies. I can't remember which, but yeah. James Stewart is here. How you doing, James Stewart? I can't do a good James Stewart. But he says the Ecto 08 was clear car used in the 360 game. I think he means the 1A, or you mean the
No, the car in the game was Ecto 8.
Oh, they had that other car in the game, yeah.
And someone earlier
said it was still a Cadillac, but it's just various versions of them.
Oh, okay. I haven't played the game in like 10 years. Yeah, the comment about Gozer being non-binary, James Stewart, but it works because
that's from the first movie.
It was in the first movie. It's whatever it wants to be. Yeah, see?
They call it it, which is appropriate.
I thought Gozer was a man.
Gozer is whatever it wants to be.
Yeah.
I was kind of disappointed that they did reuse the same type of model for Gozer. I was hoping it'd be a new image, but that maybe with a couple of familiarities.
Honestly, my problem was they put too much. Now, here's one of my other gripes. I loved the attention to detail in every area except for Gozer. They should have kept the costume exactly the fucking same, because I don't understand like what they were doing there. Giving her like terror dog skin as opposed to like the see-through kind of thing, which kind of made her look more like
crystalline thing.
Yeah, to kind of make her look like she was kind of made out of like ectoplasm and stuff like that kind of thing. Yeah, I like that better. Like they could have tweaked that, like made a happy medium, but I didn't like the terror dog shit. And it was clearly a costume because you could see the separation on the neck, and she's like a foot shorter than the chick they had play her in the original one. It seems like.
Well, it's hard to tell because she's up against children, and then she's never really standing shoulder to shoulder with the Ghostbusters. So
that could very well be.
And she didn't do any sweet backflips.
No.
Yeah, where was the backflips? Nimble little man.
That's like, because like she's climbing out of the hell pit hole, and I'm like, first off, wouldn't you just be like kind of being lifted out of the hell pit hole by all your minions? And like, why is it hard for you to climb out of there? Couldn't you just do a sweet ass backflip?
I didn't have no issues with that. I thought it was all cool. All that
just made me think for a minute, because I'm watching her struggle, and I'm like, you know, you're an acrobatic wonder.
They did a pretty good job though overall. That was probably one of my minor gripes, is they just went a little too far with the terror dog skin on her.
Oh yeah, anything that's a problem for me with this movie is all very nitpicky.
Exactly. Trenchman says, I'd love a more scary Ghostbusters movie like this. Well, you got one.
Mosh pit.
Steven Simmons just sends $10. I don't know if Google decided to detract what he said, but there you go. Nelson Sharita says, Ray, when someone asks you if you're a god, you say yes. Okay.
Oh man, I like
Mr.
the stuff that he added in there about like the senior citizens elderly
I love Bill
association.
Murray rolling his eyes too at that shit. He's like,
We're here from the Bureau of Game and Wildlife.
yeah, Game of Wild,
and ducks and something like that.
Worldwide
Yeah.
Duck Federation or whatever it was. Yeah.
Just every club that Ray's associated with himself personally.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh shit. TD
He's like, by the way, I have a fishing license.
Yeah. TD Tellum says, I think some people might have missed that Winston's affection for Ecto 1 at the end is based on the animated counterpart. That was cool to me. Yeah.
No, that was
Yeah.
awesome. Yeah.
Yeah. I like, there was a few nice little callbacks to all forms
He's
of
also
Ghostbusters
credited
except
as
for one.
Dr. Winston Zeddemore, which means he got his doctorate while being a
Yeah.
Ghostbuster, because he wasn't a doctor when he started as a Ghostbuster.
Yeah. And
Maybe
they
he got
never
a
really
doctorate in
say,
finance.
they never really say what his business is either. Like at
Just-
the end,
he's
we
just in
just see him in
finance,
an
yeah.
office. Yeah. They don't really specify, but Bird Up says, I'm just happy that there's finally a franchise movie to be happy about again. Yeah, I had such a great time. I wish Script would have enjoyed it a little bit more, but hey, I know like
I enjoyed it a lot. It just
I mean,
like
He's being a script doctor.
I was gonna say, I mean, I get it because I was
yeah.
rewriting the movie here and there in my head too, but I'm like, nope, you just have to
I
accept
was like,
it for what it is.
I was just
kind of
thinking to
thing.
myself, because they're like, how would Ray not believe him? And I said, and I just thought to myself, if they just said we destroyed Gozer when we crossed the streams, there's no way it could have come back, and Egon was just refusing to believe that. I mean, that's your point of division, and then that's at that point it's like, you then can carry over into the anger, which is that Egon basically just took all their gear pretty much and just ran off, and that's what really caused the divide. It's not the fact that like, okay, he had doubts, he didn't believe him, but then because Egon behaved this way, that's where you caught the divide. I'm like, I can believe that, but you didn't give us that. You just said, oh, he was crazy, and he was talking about like, the end of the world and not wanting to take regular ghost calls. And
Can I ask you a question, Script? No, plot hole possibly. It being after Ghostbusters 2, we're dealing with the mid-90s and onward with this whole backstory. Once Egon had found the giant hell pit and temple under a mountain, don't you think he would have emailed Ray some pictures?
I would have thought so, yeah.
Like that would have just solved everything. Then
Well,
I mean,
all
I would have
come
been
down.
They
like,
actually, well, I don't know.
I mean,
if
I
you
love the
know.
fact that the Ghostbuster goggles had a flash camera, a Polaroid camera in that. That was super funny.
Yeah, it was.
I mean,
That's
clearly
totally
the two of them
outrageous.
had a falling out, which is, I mean, I get it. And you're right,
Yeah.
Script. It could have used some tightening up there. I'm not disagreeing with you.
Oh
But
no, like because
I
here's
was
the other
overall
part
fine
too.
with it.
Like Jason Reitman was definitely in the mindset of a lot of fans of Ghostbusters and screenwriters, because a lot of the stuff that he threw in there is stuff that I proposed to my pitch to Sony like years ago. And there's no way that he read it, because like
Right, and like I said, it was pretty much exactly verbatim what I said the movie should be anyway. Remember, like it was almost exactly like he was up to something. He passed away. The family moves in. He's trying to tell them what he needs, and then at the end, we finally get to see him. That's what I said. Remember, like,
yeah,
I said he was always going to be a part of it, and his soul was never at rest. And then I even said the part where he goes to heaven finally, just like he did at the end of the movie. It was almost like they were in my fucking head. You're right. Like, I think that Jason, just being at that right age, he knew exactly what a lot of these fans were going to want and expect out of this.
I was just hoping we'd get a little bit of explanation with regards to Egon's, Kelly's mom, because it's like who convinced Egon to have
Yeah,
it?
I mean,
I'm just that's an interesting story on its own. But like, is she around still? Did she pass away, and that's what caused the divide?
Be her mom, but like, because Janine is one of those moms where you can almost see she wouldn't have been the best fucking mom in the world. But
who did
she probably
Janine
is
end
to
up
Lewis's
with?
kid if
Anybody?
But that's the thing. I was hoping for Lewis to show up too, but
I thought that they would have Lewis with Janine because of the second movie.
Well, here's the thing: is like it almost feels like they should have naturally had like her and Egon get back together, because it almost feels like they kind of have like that moment, where she says that, well, I'm more sorry for you, like because because almost
probably knew him better, yeah.
That they were together, and then the final credit scene begins with that deleted scene where she gives him that token from the World Fair, and then it cuts to her still having the token because she got it back, right? So it's a brilliant little piece, and I mean, you could have still made her the mom, but then again, it's too difficult to attach it all, and you would have made Janine kind of a worse character that way. So I understand why they didn't.
And in real Ghostbusters, yeah, they were more of a will they, won't they item type of situation. I don't know how
Well,
to say her name. Shinatsky. Tom, can you
Janine
say that?
Melwitz.
Janelle Mountains. Or you mean that other chick? Or who are you talking about?
Oh, the person in the chat. Shinatsky.
Oh,
Yeah, how do you say that? Shinatsky.
Shinatsky, that's my boy.
yeah.
Okay, that's hard for me to say.
Real
I
Ghost.
didn't want to screw it all up.
Yeah. Infinity Flare says, anyone feel like Lucky was MJ from Homecoming? I did get some of those vibes, but
Yeah, but she
honestly,
was much funnier.
They didn't like, that was probably one of my, I didn't get as attached to the older kids, but it was a good thing they didn't try to force them into the story more.
I thought it was kind of funny that Trevor was technically supporting that family because he's the only one that got a job.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
because we have no idea the skill set or what Kelly does. Like, she's just kind of like this a bum, so to speak.
I thought she was going to end up teaching at the school eventually, but yeah, no.
They would just let people do that. This isn't South Park.
I mean, of course, there's room for that in the sequels, but you're right, Script. They should have really kind of give us a little bit more of attention to who she was, who the mother was, why she was
I think we got a little bit too much time with Trevor and his work at the Spinners place.
Potentially, because like I said, they didn't use him enough, but I'm fine with that because
I mean, I like the fact that he has natural, like not really natural, but mechanic skills because he fixes the car on their drive there to begin with, so we know that he knows some things.
Yeah,
he's a car
that's
guy.
Why it reminds me of Karate Kid again, because just like Ralph Macchio, he has to know how to fix his mom's car because it's a piece of crap. And that whole move when they get evicted.
Yeah.
That's why I kind of don't mind that slower pacing in the beginning because it seems more like real life, so it sets you into more of a suspended disbelief to start out the movie.
I mean, to a point, yeah, it does. But the thing is, you could have started that movie when they were just driving to Oklahoma, and you wouldn't miss anything because you still have the awkward kid.
Yeah, they could just come home. There's the eviction notice on the door, and then
I mean, just don't even do that part at all. It's like there's like we're starting a new life here. And then she's trying to encourage the kid Phoebe to make friends because she's going to summer school to catch up with whatever, and that's where like that whole scene there. That's a perfect way to kind of start this type of movie based on the tone that we actually ended up seeing. The stuff in the apartment, the eviction, that it plays in, but it's a lot longer than it needed to be.
Right. I mean, there's again. I mean, I'm sure that from a rewriting point of view and editing point of view, I'm like you, Script. There's things I could have nitpicked. But but
the thing is, it's all after the fact. Like when you're watching it, you're just kind of pulled in, which is a good sign.
It does a very good job.
Yeah.
Xenobit says, I just popped in and I don't know much about this film. Did Paul Feig redeem himself? Yes, he did. He redeemed himself by not directing this. Mags is in agreement with me on that script, so I don't know if that's worth anything, but bragging rights for me, I guess. I don't know. From Pillar to Post says, what was the deal with the different Ghostbusters logo that appeared after the end credits scene? Have they used this logo before?
No, they just stuck the little cutesy marshmallow guy in it for shits and giggles.
Yeah,
pretty much.
Yeah,
I did see one where they kind of made the ghost look more like Egon, but I think that was just.
It would have been really neat had they had it come out and do the 3 and wink at us instead of the like the 2 logo. Mm-hmm. That would have been nice, just as kind of like a little wink.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of signify, yes, this is Ghostbusters 3.
No, right? They didn't use the song until like the end of the.
Well, that was. Yeah, go ahead. Script.
Well, that's what I was saying before we started the show, which is that this is a Ghostbusters universe film more so than an actual Ghostbusters film, because the Ghostbusters is about the Ghostbusters, and we know who those characters are. And these are clearly the kids just trying to do what they can within the Ghostbusters universe, but it's more about that family than it is about the actual business. And I think that's to its benefit, because it's a great way to sort of reintroduce the world again, so that you can set up for another generation.
And I think that's what they're doing now with the way the ending was, is like we're clearly going to get, different probably ghost groups. And this probably goes back to the original idea they announced where they were going to have another crew come in.
Well, yeah, there was talks about them trying to do Ghostbusters in other parts of the world. And
yeah, and they even had one with like Chris Pratt they were talking about for a while and stuff like that.
They had one with Seth Rogen in talks, which I'm glad fell through, because he would not be appropriate.
No, he'll just die and become a ghost.
He'd be Chuckles, yeah.
Hey, Chuckles, going against the poltergeist.
I'm so stoned. Speaking of that,
you know, there's
did
a
anybody else,
body bag, and that's
did
the end of
anybody
him.
else get that preview for the Disney movie ahead of time about the family that moves into the house that's magic?
Wait, what?
I don't remember that.
I'm trying to remember the name of it. It's about a Spanish family, and they move in a Mexican family, and they move into a house, and it's magic. And all I said at the thing, I'm like, that's usually called a poltergeist. It was pretty.
Is it good magic or bad magic?
No, it's good magic. Like the whole story is. It actually kind of looks like a decent
what does
movie.
Does it cook for you?
No, like this family.
What the hell, Jesse? Like you want the ghost to be Mexican and make you tortilla?
No, did you see this trailer
Yeah,
yet?
kind of. If it's a Mexican ghost, then yes.
Oh my god!
Did you see this trailer yet, Mike?
Food.
What'd you say, boss?
Encanto, that's what it's called. Yeah.
I haven't seen it yet.
Okay, check out the trailer. Let me know what you think. But it looks kind of like it's all right looking. It's basically
I'm still scarred from the Pepsi commercial, but I plan to see it.
No. This is totally different. Like this Mexican family moves into this magic house.
Okay.
And like everybody in the family gets magic powers except for the one girl.
Okay.
So like that's like kind of the setup of the story.
Okay.
So the house itself does the magic. It's the people.
So basically, I don't have to be in a house, and the woman doesn't have magical powers to make my life hell. I like it already.
Yeah. So check out the trailer. Let me know what you think. And then otherwise, the other trailer beforehand, which was I thought was really funny, and I forgot this movie was coming. Script might remember this though. The Crypto movie, the Superdog movie, with The Rock doing the voice. It looks fucking hilarious. My God, I'm like, this looks better than the Justice League. I don't know if you remember that, but if you've seen the trailer yet, but the basic setup is it has the Justice League, Batman, Superman, all those guys in it animated, but they all get kidnapped or whatever by Lex Luthor. So all the super pets have to come together as their own little Justice League. It looks like the cutest fucking movie ever. It's just hilarious looking. You know, it's like a Pixar kind of movie. I just thought that's adorable. Like, no, that's something you can take.
That's is that the League of Super Pets one?
I think so. Yeah, I can't remember the exact name of it, but I think it's something like that. Yeah. But like, yeah, The Rock does a voice in it. I'm trying to remember who does Superman's voice. Oh shit. But yeah, it looks pretty good. Surprisingly, from Pillar to Post says, what was the deal with, we got that one already, sorry. But yeah, I think that's the only reason they were just having fun with the little Stay Puft guys. Luke 9511 says, I haven't seen the new Ghostbusters, but without spoilers, 1 to 10, how was it? I'd give it at least an 8 or a 9. How about you, Jesse?
You know, honestly, I would have to say 8.9, maybe a 9.
Wow, I'm with Jesse.
Maybe a 9.
I'm with Jesse.
Because yeah, there's very little. The only room for improvement really is, like you said, another 20 minutes would have been good.
Script.
That's about it.
Well, I don't do aggregate numbers, but I recommend it. Like if you liked the first 2 Ghostbuster films, you will get something of value out of this one. That's for sure, and walk away pretty happy. That's fair. I would say that's like even just the ending alone, it's worth it.
Yeah. It's getting a 93% on Rotten Tomatoes for audience score right now. Super Blubberpuss said, how many more male characters replaced by women? Nobody was replaced in this movie.
Yeah.
I didn't feel that at all.
This was expansion. First of all, this was respect to the old, introduction of the new, and then for the future, we have plenty of things set up for the next 2 movies.
I mean, it does use the very tried and true, supposedly bad father, but not really trope. And they do wrap it up pretty quickly. But outside of that, everything else, like the mystery that's set up, the exploration of what the Ghostbusters were, I mean, it's definitely true and it captures the spirit of what Ghostbusters was to begin with.
And it also has the feel of the Junior Ghostbusters from the real Ghostbusters cartoon.
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad they didn't like play up the whole bad dad trope with because even in the way that they present it, even though she says it's because he couldn't connect with Phoebe, like you were just pointing out, Script, the way she's kind of presented the movie, she could have been the fucking problem.
Oh, exactly. Like she's nothing. Like she's not much of a. I mean, she's a mom, but the only thing that she has as a positive attribute is that she's there, and also at the same time, she's like, she cuts her son, giving him a haircut, and she's like, "You'll live." So she's like, okay, so she's a reasonable to a degree as a parent, but she's not making any effort to really provide for these kids. Like, she's making excuses, and that's the thing. Like, she's a character that makes excuses instead of takes responsibility. And then you have the differences that both her kids are trying to take action and be proactive and take responsibility for stuff. So clearly that aspect of her life skipped a generation.
Yeah, they kind of, I mean, they don't say it flat out, but they both insinuate in many ways that she's kind of a deadbeat mom.
Yeah, pretty much.
Like, they almost say, like, you're just here. That's
either.
about it. Yeah, exactly. Max Santiago says, script doc, they needed a human antagonist. I don't.
The closest
agree
they
with
got
that.
was the police, the sheriff.
No, I don't agree with that.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
You mean, I understand that's part of the formula of the Ghostbusters is the one rationalist that tries to stop them from doing what they're doing. And
that was one of my problems with the second film, is that bit with the assistant to the mayor or whatever. I mean, I love the actor. I can't remember his name, but
yeah, he's a great character actor.
That was one, like Andre and I were talking about this morning. As I said, one of the main problems of the second film is how they keep going out of their way to do scenes like the first movie, and that was one of the examples I used. Right,
and that was the see, that's the mistake of Hollywood during the sequel era, is that you have to repeat the formula of the first film, and the one that really broke that was Empire Strikes Back.
Yeah.
And that's why it was so successful.
Well,
and to a degree, Temple of Doom kind of broke that also.
And it's extra hard in that comedy region because that's the thing, is they presented Ghostbusters 2 as a comedy.
Oh, and that's based on the influence of the cartoon show, which was walking the line of the original film and then also as a comedy for kids. Because those first few seasons, they scored each episode individually for that show. Like, they put a lot of effort behind those first few seasons of Ghostbusters.
I'll give you an example. Maybe you agree with this script. Ghostbusters 2 suffers from the same problem that all the Police Academy sequels suffer from.
Yes.
Trying to appeal to the completely different audience than they originally were going after to begin with. And then diminishing returns as far as because they're trying to lighten up the comedy each time and make it lighter and lighter and lighter each time.
Well, here's the other part too. Yeah. So they're taking the feedback of the first film incorrectly.
Right.
Because the first film appealed to kids for completely different reasons, and they realized, if kids are going to see this, we probably have to, make this a bit more accessible to them. And that's the biggest mistake you have whenever you get into the mindset of writing something for kids. Kids are a lot smarter than we give them credit for. They're a lot more observational than we give them credit for. Yes, you can write stuff that gets over their head, but the thing is, you want to hook them on everything else that's in that content so that when they go back to it later and they understand the adult jokes, so to speak, they can appreciate it more. And that's why when you write to kids, you have to realize kids have an inherent desire to grow up and be on their own, and they don't understand why. And that's why they gravitate towards more grown-up things. That's why kids fall in love with horror films as a kid. They don't.
Great example. Yes.
Like, they don't fall in like people who I know who've never watched a horror film as an adult until they're an adult. They don't like the genre because they just don't care. But like, if you fall in love with like a horror genre as a kid, you are in hook and barrel. Like, it's there.
You're dead on, and that's why I loved the first Ghostbusters, because as a kid, I loved things like Gremlins and stuff and Jaws that scared me. But like with Ghostbusters, it was the same thing. But the difference is with Ghostbusters is those guys beat those bastards, those scary fucking ghosts. Gozer and all those, the terror dogs, all that shit, the library ghosts, outside of Slimer, they all were scary as shit. Well, in the state of Marshmallow Man. But
I mean, the librarian was frightening.
Exactly my point. When you get to the second film, though, there's no scary ghosts whatsoever outside of Vigo, who's tangentially scary, and the one time
scary.
when Yano's just scary.
I mean, the mink coat coming alive is kind of frightening.
But
the
not to the
Scolari
same
brothers were a bit more
my
cartoonish than they should have been.
That's my point. Yeah, all the ghosts are too cartoony in that movie. Like,
again, that's them leading into the real Ghostbusters cartoon more.
And that's where I was bringing up the Police Academy thing, because as you go along, you're losing that original kind of whole point, the edge that made the first one what it was. And this one, they kind of mixed it a little bit more, but instead of having Slimer, you had Muncher. And I was okay with that, because like you had the first film, you had Slimer and Stay Puft Marshmallow Man, but Gozer and the rest of the ghosts were all scary. And Jason did a great job with that by making the terror dogs really fucking scary in this movie when they needed to be. Like,
and I mean, the effects on them were quite remarkable. Like, I could not tell if that was actually a puppet or a CG.
I could tell most of the time, but they were very well blended. Yes.
Yeah, they were like, I mean, when the dog is chasing them when they're driving and downtown, that's clearly an animated dog. But like some of the eating the dog food, I'm like, that's
was
hard
great.
to tell, man. Like that's everything is just so.
Literally sitting on the hood.
I really, exactly. And you know what I loved? I love the whole marshmallow gimmick.
Yes, I loved the little marshmallow
dude. It was okay. These guys, these little fuckers. See, when they first come up, you're like, oh, how cute. Then it turns into, okay, how annoying. Then it turns into, okay, hold on, there's a bunch of them.
Gremlins.
Wait, hold on. They're terrifying. They're everywhere. And then just when you think these little effers are gone, they come back again.
Well, I love how they just basically they're like gremlins. Yes, they
keep multiplying. They're like, and just at the moment where you think, okay, gun on, final blast, problem solved, ghost threat annihilated. No, they're like unplugging shit, and they're, oh my god, it was so good.
And come on, who didn't chuckle and really kind of like feel like that moment when Podcast walks out and he's covered in fucking
marshmallow, yeah.
Oh,
and then Ray's like, you single-handedly just saved the world from a cross rip.
Oh my god, he literally looked like a miniature from the first one. Remember? I mean,
yeah,
like when he comes
deliberate. But it was also a little bit organic
done
too.
Right. It was nostalgia done right.
Yeah, you know what else was done right, Tom? Another one that I haven't heard us talk about yet is the smoke above. Just remember the scene when they look up in New York and
they nailed all that.
And then they nailed it with when they look up on the mountain and they got the smoke the clouds coming together and all that. So good. It new and fresh, but homage done the right way. By the way, your Muslim uncle just hit me up from the theater. He's coming out with his wife. He also loved it.
That's great.
Awesome. But no, Max, I don't think it really needed a human antagonist. I mean,
I understand what he's getting at
but
there, but
that's where I feel like that was one of the problems that they stumbled into with the second one. Like you can't recreate Walter Peck again. I mean, he shouldn't have even really worked in the first movie. He just worked because that's the way bureaucrats work.
Well, he's the example. Okay. So here's the awesome theme with regards to Ghostbusters, that these three guys, they start out in the university setting, basically academia, government subsidized to a degree. And then once they go out on their own, they are then getting accosted by someone who is abusing their power within the government. The very thing that screwed them up in the first place, that ejected them into starting a business on their own, is coming back to, course correct and usurp what they've accomplished. And that's kind of like very interesting aspect of Ghostbusters that I quite thoroughly enjoy. Is that, and then I also love the joke is like Ray talks about. I used to work in the private sector. They expect results. The university doesn't. It's like they'll just give you money and just create research and stuff. And then if it's successful, a private company will buy that research or look up the patent and then turn it into their own thing. And then here these guys are like, yeah, we're just going to start our own business. And like the first film again, it's a brilliant piece of work, and it took them years to write that script. So.
Yeah, and I mean,
pays off.
Again, I felt they did a pretty good job of acknowledging how, people like events could happen in the first two films, and people could still be skeptical, right?
Oh, absolutely.
I think they did a fairly decent job, and I mean, I get it. It's kind of like one of those, you just got to kind of run with it, kind of things. But
well, the other part too is like they established. I mean, with the benefit of the second one, they established the inconsistency of the ghost sightings. Like it comes in peaks and valleys. And then when Ray's talking on the phone, he's like, listen, we did too good of a job. There's no more business, and we weren't getting as many calls. And, we lost the mortgage payment on the firehouse and all that stuff. Like everything is kind of logically played out. And heck, like even that backstory, that would have been something great. I'd rather have novels about that in-between time as opposed to like a retcon or a cartoon or anything of that nature.
That would be really interesting.
Yeah.
As long as it was canon.
From Pillar to Post says, don't know if it's been said yet, but they treated the old man who built the apartment building in the first movie like Snoke. He's barely there. I mean, he played his part. I think that was kind of the whole point was
he was a facilitator. Yeah,
he thought he was more important than he really was.
He was just like a bonus.
Well, that's the thing is, okay, here's my point. They even make the point that he was really full of himself, right? Because he put his fucking name on everything. He clearly thought he was this big deal, and he even said, he even steps up to her like he's this big fucking deal, and she's just like
he's going to be her partner in ruling the world. Like he was arrogant. He was a genius that got swallowed by his own arrogance.
Yeah. Yeah, so I totally got that pillar to post. Like, I that's why I took it. Like, he's just like, yeah, she just ripped his ass in half because he's like, who the fuck do you think you are? You're just one of my peons, right? Like,
Yeah.
you know. And
I
he's
liked
very
when
arrogant. I like
liked
that,
when
yeah.
Phoebe went up to her because that was interesting because she just sat there looking at her for a minute, letting her do her thing. Like, amuse me, child.
Yeah. Legarine says, looking at the Google reviews, so many 1-star reviews from several months ago. People need to wait for the movie to come out before buying it. Well,
Yeah,
this is
yeah,
showing
that
their
was
true
great.
colors.
Most
Really.
legitimate election of all time. I mean, review.
Well, here's the other part that makes this Ghostbusters film and the previous two Ghostbusters films far superior to the 2016 remake, and that is because it's not self-aware of the comedy it's doing. And that's one of the things, that's an SNL issue of current SNL that's really terrible, is that the characters are very self-aware of their flaws, where in Ghostbusters, Peter Venkman's not really self-aware that he's kind of a creeper.
Well, that's
Like, he
kind of
does,
my point where it's
and
not like
that's
a
what
regular
the
comedy,
brilliance is that you can't be when writing a comedy, if you make your character aware of their flaws and they don't want to change it, it takes away the comedy, because now they're not finding themselves in traps by accident that exposes their flaws. It's being done deliberately. Like, anytime you saw something on SNL where they're making fun of Hillary Clinton, it's like, hi, I'm Hillary Clinton and I'm definitely never going to stop running for president. It's like, she's never publicly going to say that. And the joke is not the fact that she broadcasts it. The joke is that she keeps on showing up and she doesn't make any reference to the fact that this is going to be her plan all the time. That's the comedic joke aspect of it. The moment you tell the audience what the joke is and then follow it through with actions, you rob the value of that joke.
Well, that's part of the problem. And you brought the perfect example with Saturday Night Live, where that's where it's just kind of became a carbon copy of itself, where it lost what comedy was all about to begin with.
Oh yeah, just take a look at that Pete Davidson sketch on Sesame Street that's going around. There's no comedy in that because they're just telling you what the joke is,
so
as opposed to actually having a joke.
Yeah, it's
you literally just looked at the camera and read the line off the friggin' teleprompter.
No, they don't have teleprompters. They use cue cards, like
they still
old school
use cue cards.
Yep.
Yeah. Xenobit says they had Ghostbuster cartoon references. Yes, they did. Did they have the ape with the fedora? No.
Wrong Ghostbusters, but I know what you're talking about.
Yes, he's being humorous. Yes.
That would be funny though if they did do a Ghostbusters.
I was kind of
with a giant
expecting some kind of fucking reference, but no, there wasn't.
Even Ray, like, I love that cartoon.
Xenobit says, did the Monster Squad pop up in the end credits? No. But that's kind of what this had, like more of that kind of a vibe. Like, don't let the kid bit make you feel like, oh, it's going to be like Stranger Things. No, this had more of the Monster Squad, Goonies kind of vibe to it. Jason knew exactly what he was doing with this.
Everything has to happen in a certain way or the dominoes can't fall for later events to occur.
Well, they were even smart to take the phones away right away.
Yeah.
Right?
They had kind of a weak internet connection or whatever it was. And
well, it makes complete sense. The fucking town's built on this mine that's this really fucking strange metal.
On a it's not strange metal, selenium. It's a superconductor.
Selenium or whatever. Yeah, it's like a superconductor or whatever. Like, that's because that's the whole point, is he was mining this metal because that's what he wanted. It was that special kind of metal. And that's where, like they said in the first movies, no, nobody ever built him like this. Like, that's the whole point.
He's either a complete wacko or a certified genius.
So yeah, Xenobit, that would have been funny though. Dark Thought. Remember when people assumed The Force Awakens being a tepid remake was to help reintroduce the franchise history repeating XCOM? No. And I say that because this is not. I didn't get any of those.
Not a Force Awakens.
No, I didn't get any of that at all. It didn't have it didn't have any of the similar beats to Ghostbusters at all, aside from the possession scenes.
I got a couple things to throw in the mix here.
Yeah.
I have two thoughts and then one question that I want to ask you to the three of you. So my first thought is I thought it was brilliant. You were talking a minute ago about the setting. The fact that it was out in the middle of nowhere at first set me back, but then I realized that it allowed a lot of storytelling to be able to happen that I think might have been a bit more challenging if you're in an urban area. Number two is that this is not a kid's thing, playing off of what Tom, I'm going to go build off what Tom said. This isn't a kid's thing. This is a family community, multiple character thing. And it's a journey of all of them. And I'm telling you, you got a lot of things going on, a lot of relationships. You got couples pairing off. You got families and friends and community. It just happens. So here's my question to you guys. Which character surprised you the most and that you end up liking the most?
Oh, podcast.
Newer characters, Phoebe, and then probably Paul Rudd.
Jesse?
Probably Paul Rudd.
Huh. For me, it's podcast.
I do.
Oh yeah, like I was already blown away by McKenna, but like I was not expecting podcast to be as fun as he was.
See, I didn't like podcast at first.
I didn't like any of them at first.
With his hair, he just looked a little bit too much like a knockoff character design of Stranger Things.
Well, not just that. In all, like you guys probably watched some of the stuff I have, like Chucky and stuff like that, and Mighty Ducks. But like, there's this new thing where there's this podcast character. So to me, like that's the one thing that's going to date this movie.
Oh, that's why I wondered why they called him podcast.
Well, he calls himself that because you get the feeling he actually doesn't have any friends. But I liked his rapport with Paul Rudd because when Paul Rudd presents, like shows him, oh, this is the Ghost Trap. He's like, how do you not know this? He's like, I'm disappointed in myself. I'm like, boom, that's a guy that's. I'm like, I'm sold. This is a good character.
It took me a little bit to warm up to him.
Like if he's in the
and here's the other part.
Anything, the Ghostbusters definitely would have came up because it was documented evidence of such things.
Well, here's the other thing that you can clearly get from this film, which is that you can tell the adults are not letting these kids do this, what happened again. Like unsupervised or anything of that nature. You can tell that at best they're going to have to go to school and grow up before they get to handle a proton pack again. In that case, like there's nothing where it's like, okay, this is yours now, we're gone. It's like, no. You've reignited the fire in our hearts and our old man hearts again. We're going to start this up, and when you get old enough, maybe you can come back. But like for now, this is still ours. But you did good here. I mean, I love that that Pete Venkman line is like, "Hi, I'm Pete. I'm from the main branch."
Yeah.
No, I think that does a brilliant job of setting things up for
one of the jokes that I thought was awesome was, and there must have been a bunch of podcasts or a bunch of YouTubers in our when we went to see this today, because when he says you're my one subscriber, the whole theater just cracked up. Like there must have been tons of YouTubers in there to catch that joke about subscribers.
No, the joke landed, I think, even in general, because that was the one thing I noticed about my crowd in the theater was that it was very diverse. Like
mine too.
You had older, like, and I'm talking older people.
Yeah, me too.
To the very young. Like,
yeah,
and everybody seemed to be enjoying the film. I didn't see anybody like
Tom behind me to the left were two. Behind us to the left were two couples that were like 70s, 80s. Over to our left on our row, they were all definitely teenagers. I'll tell you that.
There was a lot of fathers and sons, I could tell.
And that was good to see, right, Tom? Isn't that good to see when you go out to the movies? I mean, and here's the thing
are gay couples that have extremely old men with young lovers. I guess I shouldn't,
who knows? But I also love the fact that
Jesus Christ. Whoa!
Here's the thing that I really enjoyed is that they remembered to treat the proton packs and the stream as a basically an electronic lasso for ghosts. Like that, it's not a weapon. I mean, it can definitely stave them off and it can definitely disrupt their stuff, but it's mainly a lasso so that they can trap the ghost, and that's what Egon was using it for. He's like, I'm just going to knock these guys down and keep them at bay. And then he was doing that because he's planting all of these traps like crops before his property, and his entire plan is just to lead them to his house so he can trap them and get it all, save the world, so to speak. And it's a really clever plan. I really like. It's like all the pieces were there. I like I like the Back to the Future joke with regards to the details of the model. I like the shot recreation of Dick Donner's Superman flying by the apartments with Muncher as they're chasing them. Like there's a lot of 80s, late 70s and 80s references of cinematography and ideas thrown into this film.
And the great thing about what you're talking about, Script, is like when they talk about him being a dirt farmer, like it's like a running joke. It doesn't mean anything. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh, holy shit. Okay.
Well, I thought he had like another room down there with more gear or something.
No, they did a great job because I was always kind of like one step ahead of the movie, but that's just because it was so close to what I had predicted. But at the same time,
the setups are pretty strong. Like I was about 10 minutes ahead each time.
Yeah. I mean, I was generally, but I didn't mind that so much. It didn't mess with my expectations, but it also didn't subvert them as we usually.
It didn't demoralize anything of the Ghostbusters,
exactly,
which is great. I mean, you have that hiccup with their parting ways, but again, that's an easy rectification for. Like a director's cut or something of that nature, but regardless of that fact, it's the pieces were put in place quite well. The chess pieces were put in place quite well, and the plot was very, very simple, which is really important whenever any feature writers out there. Simple plot, complex characters. The characters in this movie were very complicated people. I love Phoebe's discovery of her grandfather. I like podcasts being this like cool conspiracy type of guy.
A lot like Ray, yeah.
I liked how Trevor is the ambitious one trying to get a job to support his family.
Mm-hmm.
And Paul Rudd just being like this seismologist who I don't know why he's teaching at the school, but maybe it's to fund his trying to source what the heck's going on in
he kind of says that in that scene when he comes in. He says this is the greatest job in the world because I don't have any expectations to do anything. These kids
I just show kids horror movies and then I try to triangulate where the earthquake is coming from that shouldn't exist.
None of these kids are really that bright, which is kind of like if you really stop and think about it, it's a hilarious joke because it's his fault pretty much that they're not, but it's like his first day teaching anyway.
And he's saying it to the mother of one of them.
Yeah, clearly he's joking because he's got that Bill Murray rapport, right? Like that.
Yeah.
He definitely nailed that without doing an impression of Bill Murray.
I also laughed at the obtuse joke.
That was so good.
There was some really good
script.
Jokes.
I
thought the polar bear joke was really funny.
Those are old ones that like we as kids grew up listening to, but the obtuse one, I'm like, that is a clever geometry joke. That was good.
Yeah. And you know what I loved about even that joke telling? They were like little kernels and nuggets that got dropped, and they started soft and like weird, and then as they went on, they just got funnier and funnier and funnier each time one was dropped. In my opinion,
well, it's clear that Jason picked up his dad's sense of humor. Like,
right,
it's very well timed humor. Like, this is probably, even though this is not technically like what people would consider a comedy, and it may not be as funny as most comedies. I laughed probably more at this movie than I have at any comedy in God knows how long. And I'm still trying to remember the last time I had this much fun in a theater.
Well, and here's something else too, Tom, that you're touching on. And just take the four of us right here. We do shows together, more or less, twice a week, 2 to 4 hours a night. And when is the last time the four of us were actually able to have fun discussing something that we all enjoyed and liked to varying levels? Sure.
Something new.
Something new.
Kai, maybe.
Dune.
Well, this is a great example of the same but different, like with regards to storytelling.
Yeah,
this is a lot like
it's very
Cobra Kai.
familiar. It's different, but it doesn't betray where it came from, and that's what's really important.
This is probably the closest thing we've gotten to Cobra Kai as far as being able to capture new with old, right?
Agree.
I will agree with Yellowflash that it's definitely not lightning in a bottle again, and again, you're never going to be able to do that.
That's going to be really hard. That would be a fluke if it
Ghostbusters 1 is a phenomenal movie, despite it has a shitty ass soundtrack.
I don't know what you're talking about.
I don't know. Elmer Bernstein's really good music.
I'm kidding.
I'm going to disagree with Yellowflash on the second one because I've actually made the argument that the second film has the superior soundtrack outside of the original Ghostbusters.
I like the second movie. I know a lot of people didn't, but I liked it. I mean,
I would say the second movie sound like the orchestral stuff. Some of the not the piano part that they do, like the soap opera-y stuff, but the other part, like the serious tone in the Ghostbusters 2 soundtrack, that stuff is actually pretty good.
I'm talking about the pop music. The score wise,
like Jackie Brown.
yeah. No, I
Bobby Brown. Sorry.
Yeah, that's what I'm making the argument because the first album's great, but outside of the original Ghostbusters song and a couple other random songs that are used well throughout the film, there's not even that many songs on the album. In fact, they throw in 3 of Elmer Bernstein's kind of cut together pieces just to finish out the soundtrack of the first film. And an instrumental version of the Ghostbusters theme at that on top of it. Because it's more of an EP than it is.
Because they had the Thompson boys.
The Thompson twins. They had Air Supply, which barely show up in the movie.
They had Mick Smiley, which
and they had
that's a weird song.
The Bus Boys and a few other ones, but like the second one is where you have all you got Elton John, you got Glenn Fry, you got Bobby Brown, as you pointed out. You got the new edition at that time without Bobby Brown. You got all these other people, and it's like that second sound, Oingo Boingo, even and shit like that. That second soundtrack to me is a much superior soundtrack.
Isn't it Run DMC also doing?
Yeah, Run DMC does a rendition of Ghostbusters, and then you got Dougie Fresh doing Spirit, which is actually from Randy Edelman's score, which is actually the da da da.
But you also have that Randy Edelman's he has that dun 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 that type of thing. That's very Ghostbusters-y.
There's some of it,
and that's like the closest you get to it, but that's still good because you could totally weld that into Elmer Bernstein's thing, and it would just sing.
Right.
I'm of two minds on the Edelman score because is there's certain parts of it that are brilliant, and then there's parts of it that are very Mickey Mouse cartoon, and that's what takes away.
Yeah, the Mickey Mouse cartoon stuff, you can. It's like all the piano stuff is the cartoon stuff. But when they get to like the horns and the drums and things, that's more Ghostbusters serious stuff.
And while we're talking about the score, yeah, go ahead.
Just like that entire scene where Dana Bear's running into the museum before the slime comes, like all that music, that's effective.
The Scoleri Brothers theme, which is very similar to that, that's some of the more effective music. I agree.
Yeah.
Outside of that, though, it's very Mickey Mouse cartoony in some aspects. But then, like Bill Murray's theme in that one is okay. Dana's theme is okay. And we're getting a little too nerdy for some of the audience now, but as far as that goes, the newer score I thought was really well, but I think they should have give Elmer Bernstein a little bit more credit.
Yeah,
because it's a
lot of his stuff.
Yeah,
I mean, I would also argue that even at some points, some of the Elmer Bernsteins that come in at odd times.
I think it's because they tried to change it up a little bit.
Yeah, because like when the chessboard falls down and then she's setting it up and then they do that little riff, it's like I don't know if that's the right riff for that type of scene.
I agree a little bit because it's more of the scary, isn't it? The da da da.
Yeah, it's more like the build as opposed to the other one where you'd use something a bit more like
ominous.
No, not ominous. More
ominous,
like just curious, just something that piques the curiosity as opposed to setting up, because that music cue was definitely more on the ominous side of things.
Yeah, maybe.
Well, I like that because we're still discovering. I mean, maybe
but it happens. Maybe it happens too late. It happens after she sets up board. Where if it happened right after the board fell, then that would work.
I agree with Script because I know that stuck out to me too. It should have been more like the score when they're going into the library.
Okay, yes. I agree with that. Then, okay, I see what you're going with. Okay,
where it's just a little bit more of the dun dun.
I get you, but then again, you two guys are professionals, and you're ahead of the movie anyway. So, and
I was like that,
and I'm just a South Carolina rabbit chicken farmer trying to keep up with you boys.
Yeah, no, I agree with Script on certain points, but then other times I like how they kind of switched through the score a little bit. Like they even kind of re-rendered. He did some re-renderings or remix. I wouldn't call them remixes. Like I like completely they're not rewritten because they're still in the same tone. Like he uses Dana's theme for the Egon's daughter.
Yes,
but it's different, right?
Yeah,
like
it's like a feminine theme type of thing.
It's very similar to Dana's. Yes,
the stuff that they did for Muncher, I liked.
Yeah.
No, like that. It was just good because
at how fast the movie went by, like for 2 hours, like the speed.
Yeah.
Well, that's where I say that centerpiece needed to be readjusted a bit. Yeah.
Well, I felt like it just flew through. Like, I mean,
it does to a point because it takes place over a very condensed time, only a couple of days. Really, it only takes place over like what 72 hours. It feels like, or maybe a little bit more.
3-4 days, maybe.
Yeah.
But I think that's another very important part of writing is you want your story to happen quickly and effectively. But I think that I would love to see the rest of the footage because I think you could actually trim some things here and there, add in some things there, and still end up with like maybe an hour 50 solid film that supersedes the issues that I can see on it after having watched the movie. Like it all pops in. Like nothing pulled me away from the film.
Okay.
Which is actually a good part. Like I was totally engrossed, but it's like as soon as the ending hit, it's like, oh wait, this. Now that I know where they were going with it, how it wrapped up, I'm like, and it's complete. I'm like, oh, they could have tweaked this, they could have cut that part out, they could have got us right to here a lot faster. But I mean, that's just my screenwriting eye, getting the best of me here and there. Yeah. But at the same time, it's like, man, I enjoy this film. This is a very positive entry into the true Ghostbusters franchise.
So I want to ask you professionals a question. What do you think the future has in store for us related to Ghostbusters? Are we going to get another one or not? What do you think? And if so, what do you think it's going to be like?
Depends on the weekend box office, or at least the next 2 weeks of the box office.
Okay.
Here's the other part too. So Ivan Reitman and Dan Aykroyd are significant players within Ghost Corps, which is the ancillary production company for Ghostbusters with Sony. They want to keep doing more of these stories. I think I'm wondering if like in a couple of weeks, if it does really well, if I'm going to get a call because Sony has my treatment for Ghostbusters 3 and nothing that happens in that script impedes on what happened in this story that we just saw.
Ooh, that's exciting.
So that'd be interesting if that happens. I don't think it's going to happen, but it'd be awesome if it did. But I would not be surprised if Sony and Ghost Corps were like, yeah, we're gonna do like say an 8-episode series of Ghostbusters shows, like 60-minute hour longs for a streaming service either through Amazon or Netflix. I would not be surprised if that's the direction they would want to go. Well, and I can see them doing it. I can see Dan Aykroyd doing it. I can see Ernie Hudson doing it. If you find something really inventive for Bill Murray to get on board, he would probably do that because it's very different than what he's normally done. But I mean, it's too early to call it at this point. It's up in the air. But if any of the people at Sony, or even if Dan Aykroyd or Ivan Reitman is listening, fellow Canadian, love Ghostbusters, and I have a story of Ghostbusters that you guys have never done before that you would fall in love with because it totally fits into your paranormal fandom. So yeah, there you go.
Nice.
Yeah, I mean, I echo pretty much what Script said, that a lot's going to depend on the box office, but I'm pretty sure that even if it does modestly well because of the situation we're in right now, like they'll take that into consideration, and they'll definitely take into consideration the fan response, right? So I think that overall, I think the chances of us getting a continuation are pretty good. I even think like there's a good chance we'll get some spin-offs and stuff. Like, you never know. I think Ghost Corps is totally ready to launch a franchise of sorts, especially if this does well. And judging by the audience that was there in comparison to certain other films I've seen, I'd say its chances are pretty good. Xenobit says, remember the Ghostbusters were established as canon in the Casper movie. Yeah, that's true.
That's true.
Who are you going to call? Someone else. Super Blubberpuss says, father replaced by daughter is gender swapped. No,
that's just having kids, bro.
Yeah, that's just having kids, man.
Yeah.
And she doesn't do anything to replace him. Like, if anything, she's more absent than anything. Like, that's kind of the point where
the thing is, she's not really, she's a present parent, and that's the best you can say about her. Like she's not good.
Like I said, even the kids do a pretty good job quite a few times of pointing out how pretty much shitty of a parent she is.
And then when she's going on the date, she says, she doesn't even ask for advice, but the kid says, don't be you.
Yeah.
That's a callback to the other joke before. Yeah, but it's
the other part too is, yeah. I'm more fascinated by like, who is Kelly's mom? Like, who's the woman that tolerated Egon to have a kid with? And here's the other part too. So in Ghostbusters 2, it's implied that Egon has got siblings because he says like, we had a Slinky or part of a Slinky, but I straightened it. And it's like, that sounds like you have siblings. It sounds like you have siblings somewhere else. There might be other Spanglers around.
Which would be cool if they brought in like Maurice LaMarche or whatever his name is to play like his brother or something like that.
That would be pretty fun.
His older brother, yeah. That'd be funny.
From Pillar to Post sends in another $2. Thank you so much. Says there ain't no Walmart. You know what? They probably built that Walmart specifically for this movie. You should thank Walmart because they probably paid for this.
Actually, in Canada, Walmarts are pretty clean unless you're in the dense cities.
They are for like the first few weeks anyway.
Well, in the United States, I'm guessing in the first few weeks. In Canada, like there's this one like 4 hours from me because like I don't, because again I'm on the border of a giant city. But if I go to the one that's out in the small town area, it is spotless.
Yeah, I mean it looks like one of the fairly big newer ones, but I mean I
like
bet
this Walmart Supercenters, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and they filmed most of this up in Canada anyway, didn't they?
I believe they did some stuff in Alberta, and I also think they did some stuff in the United States as well. So.
Okay, I thought most of it was because Bill Murray met him up in Canada. That I know.
Yeah.
What was that? Sorry.
Well, was that town big enough to necessitate having its own Walmart?
According to Walmart, it was.
Well, I think the population has to be slightly over 15,000 for them to justify putting up a Walmart.
Really?
Yep.
Basically, bro, like their Walmarts have come into like middle America and just wiped out everything except the Walmart.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I know that's, I know you're up in fancy pants Connecticut, but once you get out in New Mexico,
it's the same thing here.
Okay.
But yeah, I haven't seen too many that are that clean. I could agree with you there. Z-Man says, I didn't like the crossing the streams was used as the go-to attack on Gozer when in lore it's only meant to close the gateway to Gozer's dimension.
True,
It's
it
not
seemed
meant
a
to
little
close the gateway. It's
dangerous.
meant to destroy. Every atom explodes at the speed of light when you cross the stream, so you don't want to do that. And the reason they did it with Gozer is to try to destroy Gozer. And they also used it as a way for the door to swing both ways, meaning that they could shoot stuff in because things are coming out. Like that's where Gozer's coming out. That's where the spirits are coming out of. That's the both ways term that Egon brings up. And yeah, I mean, you're going to do what worked the first time, right? And then they tried it, and then Gozer, I guess, remembered. And the cool thing is that she, pulled apart the streams, which is a pretty cool little aspect in there. I mean, I like the fact that, yeah, they kept it on point. They conveyed accurately what the proton particle collider actually is. It's an electronic lasso, and Ghost can break out of it. And yeah, it's.
So Dan's
neat.
pretty much. I'm sure he made sure everything was pretty accurate.
I would not be surprised if he had many
and I'm sure that
Jason Reitman being like, okay, I need to do this. He's like, well, Dan Aykroyd just goes into a spiel like,
exactly.
Joe Friday.
and not only that, I bet you that's where the breaking of the beam came from. He was probably like, that's something I wanted to do back in the original movie, but I didn't have couldn't figure out.
We couldn't do it with the puppets, and we couldn't do it with the painting of the lasers on there.
Yeah, I'm sure, and that's probably what it was. And that you're right, because that's probably what he was trying to express to him, is like that they're like a lasso, and then the trap does this, and he explained it all to him, and blah blah blah. Like,
and I love the fact that like when they're driving and a muncher like hooks around the corner while he's got the beam around him, that the beam comes with it. It's like, oh yeah, it's a proper tether. It's exactly what it should be. It's not a line of sight thing like the trap.
Well, that's how it works in the game. I mean,
yeah, it's also in the game. Yeah.
And didn't Dan Aykroyd also consult on the game as well? So
Dan Aykroyd and Harold Ramis wrote the game.
That's what I was going to say. So yeah. Z-Man 78 says, I didn't like the. Oh yeah, we got that one. Sorry about that. I do that all the time. The next one up here is let's see here. I am glad that StreamYard did fix this, though. I do got to say that, because
it doesn't clean out the chat. It just lets you go from almost to the beginning, right?
Yeah, actually, yeah. I think it keeps pretty much the whole chat. Yeah. Which is nice. There we go. Xenobit says, there was this scene in the trailer where she tilted her head down and glasses hung like Egon's. Did they do any other mannerisms? Some, but again,
it's an echo of it. It's like, it's not exact, but it's definitely familiar enough.
Yeah, she's her own glasses in the jumpsuit, and she held them up in front of her own glasses, and they were the same style of glasses. Like they both picked the same thing without knowing it.
Yep.
Yeah, there's some of those elements, but they don't go overboard with it. Like McKenna is just like naturally kind of like she has this way of just making it her own. Right.
Yeah, she's really talented, ahead of her years, and she better have really attentive and good parents and a solid manager and agent so that she doesn't get manipulated as she gets older.
But no, like the way she played it was like she's a nerd and she's very Egon-like, but it wasn't like she was mimicking Egon. It wasn't like she was trying to do all the same kind of manner, like the extreme kind of things they normally do in these kind of movies. It was just little things, right? She had her own way of being kind of awkward. But yet it was similar to Egon, but not exactly. You know what I mean? Like they did a very good job of giving it kind of like with the girls in Bill and Ted, actually, is what it reminded me of. Because they did a really good job of making them a lot like their fathers, but yet they had their own little kind of isms
about them, yeah.
Quirks, yeah.
I'd agree with that.
I think they did a great job. More so with her, like the Wolf Finhard character, whatever the hell his name is. Like he was kind of Trevor. He was yeah, he was like there.
I think he got a little too much screen time for his function.
He really, yeah. They could have even.
Wait, which character?
He's the older brother.
The older brother, yeah.
See, I thought they were gonna focus on him a lot more, and they just didn't.
I was glad they didn't, because that was where I was gonna go. Oh, this is gonna get boring because I don't give a shit about that character, right? Like,
yeah, but you know what?
In the sense that I didn't care, but like it's like I don't care about him in this little love thing over here. It's too
tacked on.
Yeah, exactly. Like it's something we've seen a million times over. They, again, with script, they could have even pulled it back a little bit more than they already had it in there, but I don't think they overdid it.
I don't know, man. I'll take. I like.
He's definitely Brandt in the Goonies. Yes,
I'd agree with that.
Yes, he fulfills that role.
I
That's
totally
about
agree.
where he's at in this movie.
Yeah. God, it's so good to talk to you guys about something new that came out that we all like.
She was there, but you have
God,
to
it's
stick
so
around
good.
for the credits, kids. I seen a lot of people leave.
Yep. Half my theater left.
And I kind of tried to catch some people. I'm like, hey, don't want to leave yet. And some
dude was
people
like,
came
you know,
back.
There's
but
fun
yeah.
stuff yet to come.
The
I
best bits,
sat my
actually,
date
really.
back down. I said, nope. We got to stay till the end.
No, and I mean, I could have used some more of the guys. Don't get me wrong, but I understand what Ivan was doing here. And I think outside of some pacing issues and some minor quibbles, he did
He did a great job. I mean, listen, have you ever saw the Ghost Corps fandom thing that him and Jason did? You could tell that Jason was as much of a fan as everyone else there.
Yep.
You could tell that he's basically trying to do everything he can to discipline himself to make this story right.
Yep.
And that's a very difficult thing to do because here the fault of a fan film is that you repeat your favorite moments in a fan film. And here Jason's like, there's so much stuff I probably want to do, but I can't do that because, again, my audience has already seen that stuff. They don't need to see me try to do it and not do it just as well. So let me try something different and make that worth it. And with that type of excitement, with that type of pressure, especially like just the legacy that you have to have. Like this is the first time that I can think of where a child of a notable director and producer has taken over the franchise and is doing everything in their power to try and honor it.
Yeah.
I can't think of anything else like that in Hollywood history, short of like the Broccoli family with James Bond up until a certain point. But then again, like the Broccoli's never directed or co-wrote any of those films.
I mean, I think what surprised us not the heck out of me was that I think there was definitely an element to where he approached it as like, I'm my father's son, but I really think he approached it as a fan. I really felt like as a fan, I was really considered in terms of, and I'm sure that's why Hollywood hates it. Because
I mean, I don't think Hollywood's going to hate this. I think they're going to love this type of film because they're going to probably see such a positive audience reaction. Sony is definitely, if this does well over the weekend, Sony is going to be very, very happy. And if that's the case, I'm really hoping that they try to run with this, and I hope they run with it responsibly and not fall into the pitfalls that come with a franchise of this point. They're going to need to get a really good team there to do that. If Jason and Ivan Reitman stay on board with Dan Aykroyd and the rest of the guys, I think they might do that because this might be the one case where you actually need a guy like Bill Murray to be like, I don't think this is good enough and we shouldn't proceed.
And there's a lot of movies that we talk about on this channel and on the morning show, but everybody in the chat stream, go see this movie. Buy a ticket, go see this movie. The sooner you do it, the faster you do it, the happier you'll be.
Yeah, I can't recommend it enough. We got a couple more super chats here, and I think we're going to wrap things up. And we can probably listen to us talk some more, or at least me anyway. Specifically, I know I'm going to jump over to Comic Stream here, I think, and talk some more Ghostbusters. So I'll throw the link here in the chat so you guys can raid over there after we're done here if you want to listen to us talk some more about Ghostbusters. Xenobit says, next movie, the find a ghost ship after busting ghost pirates. They find the captain's journal. It's One-Eyed Willie's ship. Next movie. Oh, next movie. Gotcha. Yeah. That would be kind of funny. Kiki Hideout says, really? Mommy Susan punished you for swearing? Did she? Did you try to say something?
Is this stream ghosted?
Oh, that could possibly be. I didn't check to see if I can't check to see if we're whatever because this is the main channel. So Superman 12231977 says, I was completely caught off guard by the using of trap to trap the terror dogs. I always assumed they were too powerful for ghost traps to hold. Well,
I thought that was inventive, actually. I like the fact that they relied on the terror dogs to anchor Gozer to this dimension.
Yeah, I thought they did a pretty good job with handling of the lore and how it all fit together pretty well with the first film. And I think that's a lot of Dan Aykroyd making sure that, probably Jason stayed on point with that. And again, you guys are right. Like Jason wrote this, I think, first and foremost as a fan, not just his father's son, right? And I think that shows through the movie. There's no nepotism in this movie whatsoever. It feels like.
No. This is very much a merit-based thing, and like he swung for the fences by taking it to a very small town setting. an outback thing, a very isolated area, and then making it. He did the smart thing because he made this more about the family and not so much about the actual Ghostbusters itself. They're just a driving force behind this family coming to terms with themselves, with Phoebe trying to figure out, understand a little bit more of her own quirks in confidence, with Trevor. Well, Trevor doesn't really have much going on in this film, unfortunately, but with the mom trying to actually be coming to terms with the fact that what she knew is more of her own imagination as opposed to the actual truth of the nature. And
No,
it
you're
doesn't
right
tear
there.
down anyone down.
And they probably could have given us a little bit more backstory through Finn and the mom's interacting more than giving him a little love story.
Yeah.
Right. That would have probably been a better use of their time. He doesn't.
It would have been nice if Trevor would kept on trying to reach out to his grandmother or something,
or his dad or something like that. Yeah.
Or something, and there's your what the other person said. There's your real life antagonist, the ex-husband, so to speak.
Yeah. Which one I think is what it's trying to be. Says back to scary moments real quick. The librarian scared me. Yeah, we brought that up earlier.
Yeah,
and I was also terrified by Janosch's eyes. Yeah, I brought that up as well. Lighting
that was
in the
a
hallway,
cool scene that
in the
they
baby
did.
carriage. Yeah, those are the 2 or 3 scenes in the second film that really stand out as far as scary.
The Janosch eyes was a practical effect. They actually just rigged up some stuff to his eyeballs.
You can kind of almost see it in the 4K version, but
you can. But they did a really good job of hiding it by doing the overlighting of the optics.
Yeah, and as Lindsay points out here, the critics are not happy with Afterlife. Wow, shocker. Yeah, they're not too happy with it. But they're showing their fucking bullshit in the reviews. But I want to thank everybody for hopping in here. We had Culture, we had Ryan Kinel hop in, we had Lorena Creel hop in. Check out their channels. We also had who else was here for a little bit? Yellowflash, of course.
Latino Slant.
Holly of Latino Slant. Did I miss anybody else that isn't already still here? I don't think so. But yeah, check out Script Doctor. Check out Jesse at the Crow's Nest. Mexican Iron Man even has his own channel right now. And the score is holding at 63.95 right now. Well, there you go. That's not too shabby.
Well, it's a good thing that the audience likes it because they're the ones buying the tickets, not the critics.
That's right.
Precisely.
Absolutely. And I'm glad to see that most of you are liking it. And yeah, I seen Dragon earlier in the chat, Dragon Master in the chat earlier. The ghost is being the stream is Ghostbuster stream being ghosted. I think that's a good joke to end on. Well, Xenobit sent in one more. Ghostbusters, Chucky, Halloween, Snyder Cut. What do you mean you aren't finding movies you like lately? Well,
I'm talking recently. Snyder Cut was a year ago, for God's sake.
Yeah, and Halloween I liked, but I didn't say it was like knock it out of the park.
Is that the Mark Hamill Chucky? That was all
I mean,
right.
I said I like the Forever Purge, but I didn't like it. I mean,
no, he's probably talking about the new series, which I am enjoying, but it's not done yet. So until it's completely done, I don't want to prejudge it. It sounds like Script's phone's going off. So with that, I think it's a good place for us. But yeah, so far I'm enjoying the Chucky TV series. I just want to see where it goes before I really put my judgment to it. And with that, I think we're going to wrap this up so I can head on over to Comics Division's channel. There's the link in the chat. And yes, Six enjoyed the movie as well. I'm glad to hear that. It is next level, and Joey's not afraid of any ghosts. Nice. I'm glad to see all the love. I've seen some people didn't like it, and we're going to have that, but go home. You're drunk. Well, you're drunk. Yeah. All right, kids. I love you guys. Take care of yourselves and each other. And who are you going to call?